All right, y'all. It's almost agreement time. Got our good friend Brandon from high school sitting in with us. We're going to talk to him about what's been going on with him for the last 20-something years. Holy shit.
Right? Blast from the past.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about whatever we end up talking about. We've got some fun little local stuff that's been happening recently as well. We're Almost in Agreement. almostinagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to the website, almostinagreement.com. Share my election guide 22. I've got a handful of interviews. I'm trying to get a few more on there. Also, make sure you check out the Becky Massey for the ballot questions and get yourself practiced because, I mean, hell, early voting starts in like a week and a half, so you can get out there and start voting fairly soon. So there's 4 ballot items. I sit down with Becky and we break them down and make it a little bit more simple. And I would advise anybody to know your answer to the 4 questions before you go in because you don't want to read the 3 pages total of information that it takes to read the ballot items. So yes is that you want to change the Constitution. No is that you want to leave it the way it is. Facebook, Insta, no, it's not Insta. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement.com. Check us out and tell your friends about us. We're going to do a show. All right. Sam Lemon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to pull off our special guest night. Would you like to introduce the guest for me since you brought him?
It's our good old friend, Brandon.
Good old friend. So, what? You're 2 years, 1 year behind us in school?
1 year.
1 year behind us, so
yeah.
We were all band dorks together, especially me and you. We were super drumline dorks together.
Drumline, Relica.
Yeah.
Shout out to Relica.
Yeah, I bought a multi-track recorder from him when Sam and a buddy of ours were in a little band together, and he was working at Guitar Center for a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know if he still is or not. I didn't keep up with him much at all, other than it was like walked in there. It's like, holy shit, I know you.
Yeah, I think he's working with the local high school as a percussion instructor, actually.
Oh, again?
Yeah, I think he's back.
He was good at it, I'll tell you that. He made you wanna...
He's phenomenal.
I ran into when I was at UT. There's a couple different guys that were still there, whether they were in grad school or whatever, that were some of his helpers.
Right.
And it's amazing how unaware, at least I was, of who we were left alone with as high schoolers.
Oh, it was fabulous.
Because there's a couple of, he's like, you have no idea, man. It's like we'd get out of our class, and we'd go to the bar and get dinner, and then come and do drumline with you guys, and we'd be pretty fucking hammered.
Oh, yeah.
And then we take a break, go get a couple more beers, and then come back and finish a night session or whatever, depending on what we were doing that time of year.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, we were pretty drunk all the time. It's like, all right.
Oh, it was fun. It was a blast because all the instructors were like college students at that point.
Yeah.
They were all like in like the percussion and jazz fraternities at UT.
Yeah, they were, I mean, and they were good, and they knew their stuff, and they knew how to teach their stuff. Like, there was fun, stupid, like, what was his name? He was a year older than me. He was played snare drum, Spanky.
Yeah.
Jared.
Yeah, he got, he had a Playboy at some point that got found during a drumline rehearsal. Do you remember that?
Oh, man,
What?
I do.
It was like, do this, like we were doing warm-ups or something, just like basic, like, you know, double beat or 8 on a hand or whatever. And he's like, you guys do this perfect. I'll turn the page. So, okay. Turn the page. Yay!
Oh, yeah. Hey, he was always quite the cut-up. That was for sure.
I mean, it was pre-internet time, so that was very early internet where it was like 20 minutes for a picture.
Yeah.
So it's not like we were well-versed in the naked ladies category.
Oh, man, it was him and Justin Polk. You remember Justin Polk?
Yep.
He's got a concrete shop kind of over in North Knox off Center. Was it Central? Kind of under the highway there.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. He's doing super cool stuff like statues, concrete statues, beautiful like concrete like vanities and tables and stuff, like all just like solid concrete.
Neat.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. That's cool.
Yeah, he's good shit. But he's still kind of just like artistic, kind of out there, super cool.
He was a spacey guy, that's for sure.
Yeah, still.
Well, we were passing out those pictures. PJ, do you have any idea what PJ's up to?
Didn't PJ pass away?
Yeah, I think you're right, David. You're right. David. You're right. I don't want to think about it anymore.
He has. That's why I was like, oh, PJ. But no, I don't exactly. I think he had like some sort of genetic.
He did. I remember He went to Marshall.
Yeah.
And my dad's parents still lived in Huntington up till my dad's mom passed away.
Huntington, West Virginia.
Yeah, which is where Marshall is.
Yeah.
My mom went to Marshall too.
Yeah.
But I went up there to visit my grandparents one time. Like, might have been my senior year in high school when he was a freshman or maybe a sophomore up there. And I went and visited him on campus, and it was cool.
Yeah, didn't he march the baseline in college?
Yeah,
for
he
them?
marched it. Yeah, he marched it in Marshall.
Good for him.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, bummer, man. I was happily oblivious at that one detail.
Sorry,
I knew it though. Once you said it, I was like, yeah, I knew that. I fucking knew that.
But it's life, man. That stuff. Unfortunate, however.
I mean, I'm mad. It doesn't count for you. It counts for Sam and I. Grayson Tuck, that douche canoe, didn't put our fucking 20-year together, so we didn't have a 20-year reunion.
Yeah.
Sam said he wasn't going to go anyway. I was going to go.
It was 2020, man. Nobody was doing anything.
That's true. It was full on pandemic. I see Alex. Remember Alex from Tuba?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alex works at one of the Krogers. He's like a meat. He's the butcher shop.
He's like a supervisor or something by
manager
now.
or something like that. Yeah, he's been because he was there. He was working for Kroger in high school. But I see him every once in a while, and we started talking one day. I was like, "You think Grayson's going to pull off a reunion for us?" It's like, I don't know. It's it's like January.
Yeah.
It was right before the pandemic hit, so it was like January. He's like, I figured we would have heard by now if something was going on. I was like, that's a valid point, sir.
For sure.
And then the pandemic hit, and the shit hit the fan, and there was nothing.
Nope.
But I don't think, regardless of the pandemic part, I don't think Grayson was working on it.
They did one for 10 years.
Did they?
Yeah.
So, alas. 25? Maybe we'll get a 25.
Right.
I don't know. What's the rules on that? Isn't it like after 20, it's just like there's a 20 plus every year that just whoever wants to show up to regardless of year?
Yeah, possibly.
But I'm bummed. Like, I live right here, and my kids are zoned west.
Oh, where are you guys zoned?
We're zoned west.
For Farragut?
No, my kids here
Okay.
in this house are west, which is...
Oh, West
The other
High
way.
School. I got you. Yeah, the actual high school.
Yes.
West.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which may or may not be rebels by the time they get there. We're still working on that part.
More than
Sure.
likely not.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of it. All the alumni wants to keep it, obviously, because that's...
Yeah, it's nostalgia.
I don't get it. I get it, but I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, where I started high school in Wisconsin was William Horlick High School in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We were the Horlick Rebels in Racine, Wisconsin. You think there's any sort of Confederate leftovers in South Milwaukee?
Yeah,
I saw some battle flags flying up there.
Yeah, because that's what I mean. That was like we had it was the old Ole Miss, that Ole Miss Rebel logo that they used to have.
Right. Yeah.
That was our school logo. It was a big H with a North Star on it. It was a red flag with an H and a North Star. But yeah, football games and stuff, we'd have the Confederate flag out.
It's
And this school was like 40%. No, this school was like 40% white, maybe even less than that, and then it was like 30-30 black and Hispanic. Like it was a minority white school at as a total. I think the majority of any subset was white, but as the total population, white was the least there. But I don't remember. I mean, this was the early '90s, mid '90s, so there was no real conversation about that at the time. But I don't remember thinking anything of it when I was a kid.
yeah.
That was a tough school, though. But anyway, alas.
It's not, at that point in your life, it's not on your radar, so to speak.
Truth.
And
I mean, I say you say that though, but my 12-year-old came in and told me some, like it wasn't like defamatory of trans. It was just like he said in 100 years, but I think he meant like 1,000. Or it was like in 1,000 years, when the next civilization digs us up, they're going to say that's a boy or that's a girl. They don't care if you think you're a trash bag or not.
right.
Like obviously, he got off the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's obviously something in the lexicon of what sixth graders are at least exposed to on some level and are talking about.
Yeah.
Or at least getting through their YouTube feed. And I wouldn't know why it would be on his... Like, he watches everything his friends watch.
It's part of the dialogue somehow.
Right. And so...
Algorithms,
Yeah.
whatnot. I mean...
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever YouTube does to make YouTube happen, but I'm just saying, like all the stars that they follow, this is those videos that come up next kind of thing.
Right.
But it's all like everybody, like when him and his friends get together, they're talking about what's his name's video and what's his name's video and this dude's video and this group's video and Mr. Beast this and whatever. So they all have the same like 5 or 7 like popular figures that they follow, and it's all this other shit that comes in through the algorithm. From whether, I don't know which one the trash bag thing came up on, but, and I was like, dude, yeah, probably, like, if you want to get technically right down to it, but if you go and look at an archaeologist today, like I was talking about, Time Team, it's a BBC show.
Yeah.
That I've enjoyed. I like falling asleep to it. It's fun, but it's also easy to sleep to. And they're going around London. It feels to me like they just walk into people's backyards and be like, "Hey, can I dig in your garden?" And then they find something because there's so much fucking history there.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, like every time you watch one of those archaeology shows, it's not just, okay, yeah, we found a female. It looks like they died at about 30, 35 or whatever. But it's also like, well, was this a farmer? Was this a priestess? Who was this person? It's not just dead woman in a field. Like, most archaeology is trying to learn the person. And so it's like, yeah, while the trans issue that you're kind of teasing about in your statement, dude, is accurate to the fact that they're going to say, yes, this was a woman in the ground, but they're going to go through and they're going to read the history books and compare it to other things that they know, and they're going to try to figure out what the story of this person was, and that person might have been a trans person. We don't know. And they may have ways to figure that out in the future, or that through the literature or whatever, the documentation that they do have and can, confirm. And so they do care about that stuff, I would say. Like, we know a lot about Greek culture and their gayness.
Oh, for sure.
It
was a huge part of their culture.
Men and women only slept together to make more people. Other than that, it was dude fucking all the time.
Well, even in the militaries, like the Spartans, and they had, there was homosexual activities that were part of initiation at certain points.
Yeah,
it was just common.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's interesting. A, where it is in the lexicon. It'd be like, I don't know. Maybe it's kids are growing up faster today. Maybe I'm just an old man. And this is one of my old man moments where I'm like, when I was your age, I didn't care about things like that.
Well, times are vastly different than whenever we grew up.
It's true.
It's like, think about the technology and the advancements just within a 5 to 10 year time frame.
Like, I think about, like right now especially, I think a lot about how, and I don't mean this in a bad way, Mom or Dad, not that you listen anyway, but like how, like full, like to me it was just like, okay, bye, see you later. Like from when I was like in elementary school, it was like, go out, like you see the jokes all the time, go out and
play,
be home when the street lights come on, that kind of joke that runs around. But then like in high school when we were running around together, like, it's okay. Other than trying to go to Atlanta with Sam to a Radiohead concert because Sam was known to smoke the marijuana, and Mom assumed that I smoked the marijuana because Sam did, and didn't want me to leave the state smoking marijuana. Other than that, like, my mom was like, okay, whatever. Like, she'd go drop, like, I would drive myself to band practice or drumline, whatever, and we'd be there with 5 adult alcoholics that are like 3 years older than us, 5 years older than us tops, looking at nudie mags, and then go home. And I was like, okay, this is normal. Like, that is not how I cannot put myself in that mindset with my kids. Like, for whatever reason, Pokemon Go is popular again.
Yay.
And so, of all the stupid little games out there, at least it makes them walk around.
Sure.
And so they're like, can we go walk around the neighborhood and catch Pokemon?
Yeah, it is. A slight bit of exercise,
right. But like in my head, like there's so much about that. It's like, yes, go walk, move.
Yeah.
You're still playing video games, but at least you're outside walking around, and I don't know, something fun might happen in the real world.
Yeah.
Despite your Pokemon chasing or whatever. But then I'm like, where are they? The whole time they're gone. Where are they? Where are they? Like, pulling up to find my iPhone. No, it's not that big a deal. Relax, dude. Like, full on, like, anxiety mode.
Yeah.
Which I guess I should call my mom at some point and ask her. Just be like, hey, every time I left the house, were you like, God, I hope he doesn't die tonight?
Just stressing hard.
Yeah.
Is he ever coming back?
Yeah.
Like, chill out, Mom.
Did he run away again?
Yeah. Maybe someone kidnapped him. No, nobody would ever want him. Come on, Mike.
I'm not good for anything, Mom. You told me that yourself.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's different times nowadays. There's so much technology. It's saturation.
But that's just it, though. The technology should put it the other way. Like, it's easier to track things. It's easier to pay attention. Like, if I wanted to, it would have been very easy for me to pull up where his location, well, at least where his phone was.
One thing that I have noticed more than anything else is the technology has really stunted people's attention spans. I've noticed that with like issues like, we're talking politics or whatever, any sort of like high context issues, you get a lot of younger people that only have a very short amount of attention to devote at any point in time. But it's kind of goes back to like the the quick fix dopamine dumps
Right.
of the devices. It's like geared towards, click here, swipe here, glance at this. That's the way your brain is circuited at that point.
Right, and you would think, and what's interesting to me about that particular thing is I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But like there was a science to commercial writing.
Uh-huh.
Like there was a science to like we have a product, we need to get it out there, we need people to recognize it, understand what it is, what it does.
For sure.
And we got 30 seconds to do it in. And then you take this new like Twitter, TikTok kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're telling a 30-second story. And you would think all these old school ad execs that have been doing these ads for 30, 40 years on TV could transfer over there. But like that is not the way it works at all.
No.
Like it's just not. It's not the same. Somehow it's not the same field, even though it's the same kind of idea. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I definitely see it in some places. I think one of the bigger issues to be is that the belief issues that go along with it. There's just not a. I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like that's one of the things we have with the kids. It's like he'll be like, "Did you know that this happened?" And it's like, "What are you talking about?" Like there's an
Skepticism?
there's a lack of skepticism in the same short attention span.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's like, dude, we've talked about this. Just because Mr. B says so. You done, dude? Just because Mr. B says so doesn't make it true. And so it's like you can like,
Yeah.
if the person has a track record of telling the truth, then you can start believing them on the first go.
Right.
But if they have no track record, they're just saying things, then you need to slow down a little bit, and take your time and maybe ask, hey, do you think this is true? And then tell me what he told you on the video, and then we can talk about it.
Right.
And so like that part to me is what kind of scares me, is that like there is a generation of kids that if I don't know, Mr. Beast, I keep running that one, even though I like Mr. Beast a lot, because I actually think he's a pretty good dude. But when Mr. Beast says jump, there's a lot of kids that would jump,
Right.
and that kind of scares me.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm a big Rogan fan, and I think if Rogan said jump to another, even though he'd take 3 hours to tell you so, there's a lot of people like, but he'd take 3 hours to explain why you should, and then he'd convince you that you should instead of just saying, I said jump, so do it. But there's a lot of people that would jump that way too.
Well, it's a certain amount of tribalism and blind faith at a certain point. You just place just all your faith in, people like that. They become just icons almost.
Yeah, and especially when they have an infallibility to themselves. Like, they don't believe that they're fallible.
Right.
That they believe they're being honest. Which sometimes they truly believe so because they have reason to believe so, and sometimes it's just because they're full of themselves. But I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't know. I don't know that we're going to make it that far. I think we might not see 2023 the way shit's going right now. Anyway, Sam always rolls his eyes at me every time.
Anything's possible, I guess.
Every time
right?
I make a Russia nuking everybody in the world joke, he just rolls his eyes like it's impossible. I mean, they said they were going to do it.
It's not impossible, but it is very, very highly unlikely.
Well, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to talk about it afterwards. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's using large-scale ICBMs. I think if anything, they would use the, smaller tactical nukes.
Tactical nukes. And what would we do if they tactically nuked Ukraine?
tactically nuke the shit
Depending
out
on
of
the
them.
severity of it.
And then what will they do when we tactically nuke the shit out of them?
Tactically.
Like, the escalation ladder is really short and really straight
I mean,
for what happens in this situation. Cause
there would basically be a tit-for-tat situation.
well, it doesn't even, I mean, and forget about us in it, like the directly U.S. part of it. I mean, realistically, what does Poland do?
Yeah.
If Russia nukes something in Ukraine, what does Poland do?
Poland has to respond accordingly, being a NATO member and having a military. We have bases in Poland. We have troops stationed in Poland. At that point, I think we would be pulled into whatever conflict was at hand.
Oh, did you see that Zelensky asked to join NATO this week?
Yeah, he put in some kind of accelerated application.
Expedited application, yeah. And what's the rules on that? Like, if a country joins NATO that is in war, are we automatically in war?
Yeah,
I would think so.
Yeah,
unless part of the agreement is that the new lines that Putin draw are not Ukraine anymore. I'm still confused on that part too. they did have they did have an election or a vote,
Right.
a referendum.
Yeah, whatever that means over there.
It doesn't. I mean, the thing about that one is it doesn't matter. We've talked about this before too. It's like it doesn't matter who holds the vote. Nobody's going to believe the outcome. If Russia held the vote, nobody's going to believe that people actually voted for Russia because it was like what the polling say, like 90-something% voted to join Russia.
I didn't see any numbers. Yeah,
It was a lot higher than it should have been if you were going to cheat. If you're going to cheat, you should have put it at like 70, 75, something reasonable that's attainable.
Yeah.
Not everything. But
Well,
it was
52%.
Yeah,
54 something.
it's also probably the same reason why Putin's been in power for what, like 26 years.
Right,
or
he's been
something?
elected 7 times.
I mean,
For sure.
same stuff. you
Right, but
know?
I'm saying like if we somehow got over there and we held an election over there, Russia's not going to believe the results of that election.
Oh heck no.
You know, so what's what's it matter?
Elon Musk, I think, had suggested to send the UN and let them do a second voting round.
Which they could, but again, Putin's not going to take it. He's not going to say.
Right. Oh, yeah, Russia already responded to
We
it.
already did
We're
ours.
like, no.
He's just going to take it as a provocation. That's all, and saber rattling. That's all that's going to come of it on his end. Because we have to realize Putin is like an evil James Bond, or an evil James Bond character, damn near. KGB, FSB.
Yeah,
His background is just like crazy.
right, and
he's
he's an old school imperial Russian. Like he
he's
wants
an
the
old
empire
soul.
back, and and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, but to say that it's like he's not an idiot either.
no,
Like he's not going around willy nilly
yeah.
invading countries just because.
No, he's very calculated and, I mean, methodical about things. I mean, some of the assassinations that he's, been successful at in other countries are just phenomenal.
I think I honestly think I think he is surprised by how much the U.S. specifically, but the West at large, but really the U.S. because the U.S. has done like 80% of all the aid, specifically military aid. I think he's surprised how much NATO countries have contributed to the defense of.
Yeah.
And because I think he figured that they would do a little bit here, maybe some humanitarian stuff. I don't think Putin was in the Putin gamble that he had any inkling that as much Western aid would come to Ukraine as has.
Well, exactly. I think it caught it off guard. I agree with you on that. But also, weren't we trying to give aid to Ukraine before all this conflict started while Trump was still in office?
Yes.
Like, didn't he stop that? And he was like, oh, no, Hunter Biden, this and that. And it was like, are you fucking
Right.
kidding?
And then he got impeached for it and gave the aid and didn't get the investigation. But he got impeached for the quid pro quo that didn't happen.
Yeah, but it was
He
like...
attempted. The
Right.
conspiracy to commit quid pro quo.
It was a huge favor to Putin nonetheless, because Putin's like, yeah, we're just going to stack up like tens of thousands of troops on your border. No big deal. And it was like...
Well, okay, but it goes back. But if you want to do the history of it, it goes back.
Yeah.
It goes back to the Obama administration when now President, then Vice President Biden was the head liaison to Ukrainian affairs with the United States, and the Obama administration led a coup that put Zelensky's party in power in the first place, which the Russians really didn't like because the people that Zelensky replaced were the Russian-backed people.
And you know who Zelensky was before he
was a comedian.
He was an actor and a comedian.
Yeah.
He was basically like a soap opera dude.
Right, so Joe Biden went over there. So, but
He had a famous TV show where he played the president.
Yes, and he
So
actually...
that'd be like who was the president on West Wing?
was it Michael Douglas?
No, it was Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen. Yeah, it'd be Martin Sheen running for president right now. Which I mean, in the
Same
current
thing.
in the current scheme of things, it's not that far fetched anymore. But I'm saying, but even if you go back to before that, the reason that the Hunter Biden thing even exists is because the Obama era coup in Ukraine put this new party in power, and Burisma was in bed with the old government.
Yeah.
And instead of getting in bed with Zelensky's government, he just skipped it and went straight to Biden. That was the whole Burisma thing, is they went straight to Biden, and they took Hunter and some CIA guy that was part of the, whatever, I don't remember what the CIA guy's whole story in it was, but they took him in, they put him on their board, they paid a bunch of money. It's like, well, if we're going to start paying people off, well, let's just skip this Ukrainian government part and go right to the Americans because they're the ones running the show anyway. But somehow we're supposed to believe that Putin invaded Russia or invaded Ukraine with no provocation. Like there's nothing that's happened before the beginning of this year when Putin just up and decided, you know what, I'm going to go take half Ukraine from him. I just feel like it.
There is quite a bit of backstory. You're right about that. I mean, it's not just like he got out of bed one morning and was like, oh, you know what, this is a great idea.
But I think that's not how it is presented like he just got up and did it.
Yeah, no, it's totally spun like that at points. But I mean, there's a lot behind it, man. He's still really like bitter about the Soviet Union, the fall of the USSR. He's like trying to piece things back together the best he can.
Well, because I mean, at least at some level, that was the most prosperous and safe that Russia had been, at least in his lifetime.
Yeah.
It wasn't a constant. I mean, it's a different playing field that they're on now than they were then. And right or wrong, in his mind, I think it was a better Russia when it was the Soviet Union than it is now. It was a stronger, more powerful, more world important Russia than the one that we see in front of us.
Maybe in like the early '80s, but they were in
his viewpoint. I'm not saying the reality.
Right.
I'm just saying in his viewpoint, I think he sees a weak Russia now, and he's trying to get back to that strong Russia that he knew. Accurate or not?
He's trying to cement his legacy before he's done, essentially. He's what, like 70-something?
I don't know. As far as old world leaders, he's probably one of the healthiest looking ones that I can think of. He's also like apparently he was like super corona scared.
Was he?
Like a couple of meetings at some point, like he was on it was like a 40-foot conference table. He was on the head of the table, and everybody from the visiting countries or whatever was on the other end. They're yelling across the table at each other because he will not get close to people.
I think I saw pictures of that.
That was pretty crazy. But like I said, I think I don't understand what we are doing as Americans. We've had this. Sam and I have had this conversation 1,000 times. I don't understand what our policy plan is with what the United States is trying to do in this story. Because I guess number 1A for me is I don't believe it's our responsibility. And I think that's one of the main places that Sam and I differ. I think Sam thinks that we have some responsibility to the global good, if we can say it's global good, if we can agree on that part. And I don't know that we do. Not at the cost of our own good.
Yeah. I kind of split the line between those two opinions because I see both sides, but also things are getting fairly desperate economically across the globe, and you can only stretch your people so thin, and you can only stretch your military. So,
I mean, exactly. Because I'll tell you what, in my tiny little stock portfolio, I've gotten dividends in the last couple of weeks. Guess who I got them from?
Yeah,
Raytheon and Boeing and those guys. Like all my casinos are dropping. Like all my other stocks are losing value, but Raytheon and Boeing keep going up. I don't know why.
That means we're probably getting ready to go into larger conflicts.
Well, one of the things that one of the news things that I listened to was talking about is that I think it's the Stinger missile. Boeing or whoever actually makes it, Lockheed or whoever actually makes it stopped production like 10 years ago because we had such a huge stockpile.
Yeah, it's somewhat outdated,
right? But we have sent so many of that missile system to Ukraine that we are now under what the Pentagon recommends we should have in stock for ourselves. Which again goes back to my point. It's like I'm not opposed to the premise of helping your neighbor. Like I think that is the appropriate thing to do, but you don't help your neighbor despite yourself. So we're literally giving weapons that we don't have enough of to Ukraine to fight the Russians, so that when we piss the Russians off that they want to go to the next level, we now don't have weapons to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I don't see that as strategically intelligent.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like if we fight them over there, we don't have to fight them here sort of thing.
Sure, that was what Iraq 1 was.
Right, but
and then people ran into the towers, and I'm not sure that they were related or not.
Two totally different conflicts, but kind of the same. Like, if all I have is a hammer, every problem has got to be a nail sort of thing.
Yeah, there's only one solution here.
Yeah, it's just this ham-handed approach, which,
I don't know. That's the problem.
But, I mean, it seems to be the solution that they throw out a lot of these situations. I mean, and it's unacceptable, like you're saying. At what point do we say, okay, how many millions more should we give them? How many, at a certain point there has to be. But at a certain point also there will be a larger conflict that will come out of this, Potentially other countries jumping in, potentially an economic collapse of sorts.
Right.
In there.
I mean, the only saving grace here is that apparently China and India are getting kind of annoyed with Russia.
China's having...
And they're the only ones keeping them afloat. China and India are the only ones keeping Russia financially afloat because they're the only people that are buying their gas and oil.
And China's having real bad economic times right now.
Well, because they have that stupid-ass COVID-0 policy, and they're locking down entire cities.
Well, yes, and also the real estate market is collapsing, which is like literally 40% of their economy.
I hadn't heard that part. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, there's a couple companies, major companies, that have collapsed. One of them's Evergrande, and then the other one is Country Garden. They're huge just because in Chinese culture for so long, basically, the investment that you were, encouraged to make was real estate because it was like just so elevated and so inflated that now that's where they had like all the ghost cities where they had just like towers of
I've seen those,
incomplete apartment buildings. Some of them didn't have like stairs or windows, and it was this mortgage that people were paying, and they were told it's an investment. And once COVID happened with the zero COVID policy, they started locking people down, and they started fucking with like the economy over there hardcore. And a lot of people were like, we can't afford to pay these mortgages on apartments that aren't even complete. So a lot of them stopped paying on these apartments. And it's something like, they have something like 65 million vacant apartments in China currently, and they've started tearing them down. That's enough to house the entire population of France.
Right.
In apartments, current apartments under construction or recently built. It's just insane. But
I'd seen some of the ghost town stuff because they're a whole, it's not just a building. It's like an entire city, roads and all are getting built out in some weird corner of nowhere that nobody lives in.
Nobody ever moves in there. They're not, but yeah, so a lot of that stuff over in China is starting to collapse, and some of these, they're not paying their mortgage. The debt market is taking a hit. A lot of these banks are closing their doors. They've got tanks outside their banks basically because they've had a bunch of bank runs to where people just show up and they're like, where's my money? And the bank's like, we're closed. We don't have anything for you.
Yeah.
But
good times.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be economic stress coupled with, geopolitical struggles at a certain point. And it's going to escalate. Well, hell, look at Nord Stream 1 and 2. I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's
That's
still
another one. That's the same as the election thing we were talking about earlier. It's like, whichever intelligence agency tells me this is what happened, I'm not going to believe it.
Oh, yeah. And they're all going to have their own little stories.
Right, because the Russians say it was the West already.
And the West says everybody in the West.
The Netherlands had tried to send a diver down or something like that, and they put a report out on it.
Yeah.
It's like 500 kilograms of dynamite or some shit.
Yeah, but they said it was not an earthquake. Sweden says the seismic activity did not match up to an earthquake.
Yeah, I'd heard that too. That it was definitely exploded.
And they're saying it was
unlikely it's an accident.
It's like one of the largest methane releases that ever recorded, basically.
I thought it was empty. At least one was, right?
Nord Stream 2 was pressurized, but it was not in operation. Yeah. So there was gas in both.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was...
Because one they turned off because of that turbine from Canada thing.
Yeah,
it was a Russian play because they were basically being like, well, I guess you don't get your natural gas.
Okay, we got to do some maintenance for a while.
Yeah, they shut it down for maintenance and blamed it on Canada for not, because Canada wouldn't send them this turbine that they needed to replace, and they'd already been planning on a year ago.
Huh.
And Canada said, well, we can't send it to you because of the sanctions. And Russia said, okay, well, I guess we'll just turn it off. And then Germany and Poland and everybody that buys natural gas is like, hold on a second.
Yeah, because I believe it's owned mostly by Germany, but there's 20 to 30% ownership in whatever the supplying company is. It's Gazprom or whatever the Russian fuel company is. But yeah, Nord Stream 2 is not fully operational. Nord Stream 1, fully operational, got hit twice with explosives. So there's 2 spots on that one and 1 spot on Nord Stream 2. And they're still like, well, we don't know. We just, we got no idea.
Yeah. We traded some people with Venezuela. Apparently our terms with Venezuela are getting better.
Oh, there you go.
Because we need to get gasoline from them. because OPEC's already said that they're cutting back production in the winter.
Yeah, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to drive up the cost of a barrel.
Yeah.
Barrel of oil.
Yeah. So OPEC's is trying to pinch the market to make it more expensive.
Yeah.
Aren't we still like the second largest producer?
But somehow we don't have enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're also one of the largest consumers.
Right. But I don't know. And again, it being a global market, it doesn't matter. There's only so many barrels of oil available, and the price goes up if that's not enough that everybody wants. So even if we're producing, as far as I know, I wouldn't be opposed to the premise, but as far as I know, there's no restrictions to export for local oil and gas companies to not export out of the United States. It's not a closed market, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They could try. But yeah, we traded some of Maduro's family for some oil execs that have been in prison in Venezuela for 10 years, 10 years, something crazy like that.
Did we really?
Yeah. And even though the official U.S. policy is that we don't recognize the Maduro family as the leaders of Venezuela, we are talking to them because we want to buy their gas.
Oh, yeah. We recognize Juan Guaido, I believe is the gentleman's name.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit of a shit show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in local news, I don't know. What do you got? Bring it back around.
Local?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got my one local thing, which I think is an interesting conversation to have, especially with the having Mr. Givens last week and his adventure.
Sure, what was it? I think it was the Rutledge Police Department, which apparently there's only 5 or 6 people total. Most of them, all but one of them turned in their badges and their guns a couple days ago.
Good for them. Why?
There wasn't an immediate response yet, I guess, from them about
I feel like it was
about any grievances.
Pay enough?
Yeah, I think it was higher pay.
I want to say there was an investigation against the sheriff or something.
And it was in protest of the investigation, or
could
in
be
protest
wrong.
of the sheriff? Al Gore, tell me more. Rutledge. How do you spell Rutledge?
RUTLLEDGE.
Maybe they're quiet quitting. That's the thing. Rutledge Police Chief fired.
What's it say this was from?
This is from New Sentinel.
No. When did it say this was from?
Oh, I don't know. It won't let me in. It's making me do a survey about where I like to buy my liquor.
Oh.
It's got to get its marketing hooks in yet.
Before you read,
Oh, it's pretty. I've got an account. I don't need you to. I just won't have it in here. Hold on. I got to do it from this browser. Rutledge PD TN quit. Man. Exciting news, me searching the internet, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Nope, the Greyhound has switched to a new Knoxville drop-off pickup point.
I saw that.
Where?
The Greyhound.
Where are they moving it to?
It's some other little hole-in-the-wall market.
I don't gather what the big deal.
Yeah, what is up with Greyhound that they can't afford to have a hub?
It's a top market in Delhi and Old North Knoxville.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they basically had it at this small little gas station that closed, but Greyhound still had things that were running overnight, and they didn't have a bathroom there. Of course, people in the gas station are like, I understand you're waiting for a bus, but you can't just hang out in here. Yeah. I think there were a couple people that went missing from it.
Right, they're out there in the rain and whatever.
Yeah.
That's wild.
News Sentinel, you suck.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think they did put a couple porta potties out there, but people were still complaining because the Greyhound schedule itself, wasn't running on the dot. They were occasionally, canceling routes or adding more routes.
They sold their building.
Yeah, I saw that.
To a developer here who is going to turn it into something, who's getting screwed by the baseball project, even though that's why he bought it, is because of the baseball project. All right. This is posted March 22nd, 2010, so that can't be it. All that work to find the story.
Of a 12-year-old story.
And it's a 12-year-old story. So,
Look up, is it Jacksboro?
what about Jacksboro?
I thought I saw something on the news where
Yeah, maybe it was Jacksboro.
the Jacksboro Police Department had done that recently.
Yeah, I think that sounds more right.
And they had left like only one sheriff on duty.
I got my new license plate today. I finally got one of the blue plates.
Nice.
What?
At a discount because I don't have to pay state driving tax or whatever the fuck it is this year.
Hell yeah. Yeah, they do look kind of odd.
Well, it was weird. They asked me, like, they're like, "Do you want a God We Trust on or not?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay. No thanks."
I'm good.
But there was a bunch of back and forth on whether, like, there was a bunch of people pissed off because they're making you take the God We Trust if you want it, or whether you want it or not. It's like, okay, who gives a shit? They're making you pay to drive a vehicle.
It's a license plate.
Yeah, it is Jacksboro.
Jacksboro.
Okay. Well, text me the story link you have because I'm not finding it in my searching. But what were you talking about between that while I was trying to search and failing miserably?
The Greyhound.
Oh, the Greyhound thing? Yeah, they sold the station to a developer who's getting screwed by the baseball project. I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting conundrum they have. Like, if we had like Westtown Mall wouldn't let it happen. If we still had Easttown Mall open, they could have used that. Like, a Walmart shopping center would make sense.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't see why Walmart wouldn't jump and be like, okay, sure.
I don't know why they couldn't kind of coordinate with the cat bus terminal. It's literally, I mean, like the infrastructure around is meant for large buses to drive in and out of it.
And there was conversation. Mayor said we'd do, the American Canyon put her transportation person on it to see what they could do. But, you know, one of the things that was talked about at the time was that there's no way you can't just add it. Like, it would have to be like weird hours or something like that, which Greyhound kind of runs anyway, because they can't, with the volume of buses that goes through the terminal down there, just the local buses, they couldn't sneak a Greyhound bus in there because the Greyhound buses sit for like an hour.
Yeah.
And get loaded and unloaded and all that and cleaned and whatever they do. So they couldn't do that. Okay. So this is from WBR.
That's the one guy that's left standing.
So, shit. Do I have it set up to do this? Let me see. Oh, yeah, I do. All right.
Don't need audio.
We can watch the video.
Okay.
Oh, no, we can't. I could put it like this. All right. Hold on.
Good morning. Acting Chief Smith and Franklin Ayers, who didn't walk off the job.
Even though we're shorthanded, we have the Sheriff's Department helping us. The City of La Follette has agreed to help us. So everything is being covered as normal. Nobody's got anything to worry about.
I will say I was
Smith
up there
says he
Saturday,
doesn't know why the three
and I
officers
saw like 3 highway patrolmen running around.
I do not.
Which I've been up there many times and never see anybody up there.
I really do not.
Town of Jacksboro attorney Stephen Hurst says he expects to hear from those officers soon.
They have grievances. I'm sure they will air those grievances in the proper place, the proper forum for whatever.
In
the proper forum, I would think the proper forum would be before you quit and leave it down to one officer. I think that'd be the first in the proper forum of what their grievances are. How are you that one guy left and you have no idea? Like, I could understand he may just not want to say. Like, to me, I feel like it's just like there's no way he don't go. Yeah, I know exactly why they all quit.
Yeah, there was 4 of you.
Yeah.
But
well, we didn't talk much. We never saw each other.
Well, I was stationed in.
Well, what is it, like a town of 4,500 people or something?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's small.
It's pretty small.
I mean, there's probably more wildlife management agents that reside in Jacksboro than actual. Well, now for sure, because I know there's at least 2. I've met 2.
Yeah.
So there's at least. Currently, there's more TWR agents in that zone than there are policemen. Because that's North Cumberland is all up in there. So I went up then. I'm not sure. Now, I did some research on it. There are definitely mountain lions. There's been many confirmed sightings of mountain lions in the region. It's not impossible that I would see a mountain lion in Sunquist. But what I saw was black on black on black.
Huh.
And if that were in the mountain lion family, we go into the puma category, which there has been no sightings of pumas in the state of Tennessee since like 1912 or something like that.
Yeah.
But part of me hopes it was a puma, because if it was a bear, it was pretty small, which means there's probably a mama running around somewhere. And so, you know what the saying is, the worst thing you could see on a hike is a cub.
Yeah.
Because moms don't fuck around.
Yeah, black bears aren't huge by any means.
Yeah, but this was this was probably a little bit bigger than Rowdy, not a ton bigger than Rowdy. I mean, it's a good size, but Rowdy's like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I would say this thing was probably like 60, 75 pounds.
Oh wow.
But it was in deep grass. All I really got a good look at was the head, and it did that whole, kind of leaned its head and looked at me, and it was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But it was also a pretty smooth out where bears are really floppy when they run. You know what I'm saying? Like
Been a big hog, maybe?
Yeah. Bears are kind of sloppy, like they're...
Yeah, they got kind of a flop to their run.
Yeah.
They're not racers. They're not running animals. They do it when they need to. And they'll fuck you up if they have to. But...
and they're pretty quick, too. They can be. I mean...
Yeah, so I set up 250, maybe 300 yards downrange, facing where this thing was, and ran off into the woods. So if it could have gone, it had plenty of time to go around and come up and get me from behind, but
yeah,
I was trying to look at it. And then it's the one time I didn't bring my pistol with me. Yeah. Every other time I go up there, I always have my pistol for that reason.
Yeah.
And I did not have my pistol with me. And so I'm sitting here with a bow I've only let go once and 2 knives going, all right, well, I'm already, it's too late. I have to walk past where it was to get out of here, so I might as well sit down and see if I can get lucky and catch a deer while I'm here and call it a day.
There you go.
But I didn't say, I bounced right at sunset. I didn't go the 20, 30 minutes past sunset, which would be legal.
Right.
I was like, I want a little bit of natural light. I don't want to be going out here in the pitch black with whatever that thing is.
Looking at shadows, was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to play it safe.
Wow. Oh, play it safe would have been to turn around and leave when I saw it.
Right.
And not go past it and then go past it again, because it was probably just 25 yards into the woods where it ducked out of me. But it's weird. This is my first year really going after archery. It's weird with so much most hunting I do is later in the fall when there's not nearly as much green.
Yeah.
Not nearly as much cover, so you could see into wooded patches. Not that you could see a deer or a puma or a black bear if they don't want to be seen anyway, but you feel like you can see further because it's just wall. It's just a wall of green.
Yeah.
And then there's these big cut openings that they do to manage the land, and then you can see the runs where they're going in, but you can't see into the woods at all. So it gets a little sketchy. But I'll be back up there this weekend if I can. Got a beer party on Saturday.
Yeah, the weather's been gorgeous lately.
The weather's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't get any of that Ian mess. But anyway, so
I think we caught some sprinkles of it. That was about it.
Yeah.
It's fortunate.
I mean, it definitely helped kick the temperature down.
Yeah.
Since the weekend, it's been. I think Friday night the low's 36.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be squinting at freezing this weekend. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Love that shiz, because the first opening weekend, which was this 24th of September.
Yeah.
When I went out, I wore gym shorts.
Hell yeah.
And then I had my cover, my coverall pants.
Yep.
Because I'm not going out in the woods in short shorts. But, I think I just had my big orange undershirt and went out in the woods. But it's good stuff. I like getting out there.
Nice.
All right, so the one that I sent to the group that I think is worth talking about is Ijams Nature Center added an event. It says it's called Drag Me to Nature, a magical experience at Ijams. Thursday, November 1st, 6 to 9. It's an all-ages drag show.
All ages drag show.
So I guess the first question to me, and you guys can answer this in turn. What is a drag show? How would you describe a drag show, regardless of an all ages part of it? Like, what do you think of when somebody says, "Hey, we're doing a drag show," or "Hey, come see my friend, he does drag. Let's go out and see my friend do drag this weekend." And you say, "Sure, that sounds like fun." Like, what are you thinking is going to happen this weekend when your friend says, "Come see me at my drag show"? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
It's going to be people showing off their outfits.
Showing off their outfits.
Yeah. So I believe drag goes both ways. So there's men that dress up as women, women dress up as men.
Mm-hmm. There's no sexual component to it, though? It's just plain dress up?
Yeah, it's not a lingerie show or anything.
Brandon? What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, folks prancing around in outfits that, maybe don't fit their biological gender. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily going to be a sexual component. I kind of just feel like it's a component of maybe like gay pride or something of that nature.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of, because I know there are a good number of male drag performers who would consider themselves straight. It's just something they like to do.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
They're kind of the oddity, though, I think.
I would say that they are not the majority of the performers, by and large. But I don't know. To me, I think it's an interesting. It's an interesting series of events going off of last week with Tyler. When we had Tyler Givens, who ran for mayor. He's a progressive-ish activist here in town. I think that's a fair assessment of who he is. And he went and did not a counter protest, just a straight protest of the Tazewell Klan rally that was the weekend before last or whatever, which was opening weekend for hunting, which we made jokes about how stupid the Klan is to throw an event on the Florida home game and opening weekend for archery, because I'm pretty sure if there is any Klan in East Tennessee, they were probably out doing those two things, not going to some weird all-ages bring your family Klan rally.
Right.
And so, and I think Tyler had the right take on it, because I think one of those is like, yeah, we're going to go up there and we're going to tell these people that they're idiots, and I think that's the right thing to do. And I was like, I agree, you have the right to protest that thing. But the important part of this, and especially that one, which is different from his IAM ones, is that event was on private property. And so, there was a call to action from not Tyler himself, but people that he knows and stuff like that, asking people to call the mayor and the police chief and the sheriff of that county and all this different stuff and stop this thing from happening.
Oh, wow.
Which I find completely inappropriate. Which I take the same stance on this one. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think anybody should attend. I sure shit I'm not taking my kids to this thing. But
for sure.
I'm also not going to tell people no. But there's also one distinct difference in this, is Ijams is property of the city of Knoxville.
Right.
This isn't private property. Now, the question that's out there to me is whomever is putting this event on renting the facility from Ijams for the night? Or is
Which would make it a private event.
Right, or is Ijams donating it for the night? Like, what is the relationship there? Because I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I have no issues with Mayor Kincannon is very open about her, pro-LGBTQ stance and stuff like that, and I don't fault her for that. That's fine. That's her business.
Right.
But to use city property for a specific function, I would call inappropriate without going through the proper steps.
Yeah, I could see there being some conflict there.
What's inappropriate about this?
I don't think it's appropriate to take kids to a drag show, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you being forced to?
No.
Okay, so this is an invitation if you wanted to come.
But this is put on. If this is put on with a financial benefit from the city, then yes, I have a problem with it. If it's just private people doing private things, I don't care. If it's some people putting on an event and they're taking their kids to it and their friends are bringing their kids along, and it's a private event and it's being paid for like a private event,
yeah,
I don't think it's appropriate, but I think that's their business and they can do what they want. Just same way I think the stupid people in the Klan could go to their stupid Klan rally and burn a cross in the field if they want. It's fine with me. I don't particularly like the actions of either one. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think people should take their kids there, but I'm not going to tell them they can or can't. But when it becomes when it's use of public property without a paid expense, I think there's an issue with that, and I think I have the right to voice my opinion of saying that I don't think that's appropriate to use public to use a public good that costs public money that we pay for as citizens in Knoxville.
Website.
Or people that pay taxes in Knoxville and do business in Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville has definitely grown quite a bit since last I lived here.
And the Boston Beer Company is sponsoring, which I find an interesting one too. But
nice. But yeah, that whole area out there, Ijams is...
It has since been canceled since this originally came out, by the way.
That's what I was about to say. It says something about it being canceled.
So this Ricker individual is the host and is a drag performer himself, which his Instagram includes a bunch of other bondage type things and stuff like that, which again, he doesn't necessarily be doing that at this one. So as of right now, it's been canceled. Don't know if it's because of outcry from people saying they shouldn't do it. And again, if it's a paid for, if this Ricker individual is paying to rent Ijams for the night, have at it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the most important distinction that I don't have the answer to. And at least according to my friend that runs Backroom Knox, he tried to reach out to this guy and got no response. So I would think our results would be similar. But like when I first posted to the group at AC was kind of giving me a little shit about doing it. Like, why would we talk about why it's important? So this is from the Compass Colloquy. This Miss Feld, she says the West Knox Republican Facebook page is the specific party that is going after Ijams and telling Ijams they can't do this thing. Which, but then she says, hey, call Ijams and tell them we support them and not to cancel this event because, we support them and they shouldn't cancel those events because a bunch of redneck Republicans say so. Right? And so, to me, this is both the stuff we've already talked about, but this has political ramifications around town. Like, this is at least a presumed delineation between the West Knox Republican Club and some of the left people that I know from other groups that I frequent with my perusings on the Facebook and stuff like that. And that this is one of those. This is becoming one of those dividing lines. And I guarantee you that if we go through the likes and the comments on this Miss Feld post, I guarantee you we find people that were also the ones that were sharing the Stop the KKK rally one. Which was my point when we were talking to Tyler about it. It's like, you're not allowed to say city, county, state government, whoever it is, stop this private action from happening unless you're willing to have one that you want to do stop too. And I'll bet you if I bother doing the research, which I won't, and find that person, I bet you they don't see it that way. I bet you they're like, no, because they're evil and this is good.
Yeah, it's
that mindset's the problem.
It's so tribal nowadays, everything. People are so polarized. It's almost like, this is my team and this is what I root for, and there's just people out there that are just voting hard R or hard D, and they're not really knowing the issues and being educated on the stance of these people. They just vote for, their team, whatever that may be. And it's like, there's actual dynamics behind all this stuff, there's like nuances and stuff that people need to be knowledgeable about before they start being super this is the hill that I'm gonna die on, by God. And all right.
The worst to me is that the one like I got on my comment, because I said I don't think it's just the West Knox Republicans that are bothered by this event. It was from Elizabeth Murphy. That's not I like my likes. I love getting likes. I'm a junkie like the rest of us when we get to our Facebook things, but
a little dopamine dump there.
Yeah, that one's not doing it. That one's not doing it at all.
Not happening.
Yeah, I again, same thing. I have no issues. If you want to be a homeopathic medicine style person and you want to run that route, cool. Go to it.
Great.
I'm not going to be really excited to listen to you talk about drinking pee, but
it's people's choice. A lot of that is just everybody's going to have different beliefs on it and do whatever the hell they want. It's like all the vaccination stuff. There was a huge segment of people previous pandemic that didn't even believe in vaccines to begin with.
Right, and that's what like
same thing.
What blows my mind about that is the political,
It's
the political leanings of those who were anti-vax prior to the pandemic.
Oh God.
Versus the political leanings of those who are anti-vax post.
Yeah.
It's like the flip, I can't. Somebody made the joke like we're living in the upside down. Like we are literally living in the upside down, and like the left is right. The left is the ones promoting war and wanting to go to war with Ukraine, where the right's the one saying, maybe we shouldn't do that. You know, it's like there's so many examples of what used to be like this is like neocon, old school. This is what a Republican is. That just because of the tribalism game, that whatever they say is wrong is now switched, and it's fucking crazy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's wackadoos on both sides. You go any hard right or any hard left, there's wackadoos on both extremes. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like but it's what the extremes are flipping to is it's what
for sure.
Like it's so weird to me. Like
and every so often they kind of switch platforms and they take pages out of each other's books because
Trump's Trump's election denial was straight out of Hillary Clinton's playbook.
Well, and if you look at his previous donations in the past, he has traditionally donated to the Democratic Party. He's
on record as saying that if he ever ran, he'd run as a Republican because they're dumb enough to believe him.
Exactly. It just so happened that he was able to hijack the Republican Party easier than the Democratic Party.
Right. I think if he was doing it now instead of then, I think he would be a Democrat.
Oh,
because I think that Hillary Clinton was the absolute. You're not going to unseat this one if you're running in the Democratic primary against Hillary, you're not going to win. And so he's like, I'm running as a Republican. And Obama said like that Obama joke at the Correspondents' Dinner. You remember that?
Oh yeah, where he dissed Trump. And
Trump was there, and he I don't remember because Trump was on the whole Kenya birth certificate bullshit thing, or whatever. And Obama says to Trump in the crowd, says, "But I'm one thing that you'll never be, President of the United States."
Yeah, and Trump was like,
"Okay, all right, bet, motherfucker, let's go." So again, it goes back. I mean, it goes back to that whole we got Trump because of a mountain of shit that happened prior.
Well, and he was the anti-establishment candidate, where Hillary was the establishment candidate.
No, I would say, if you're going to say it that way, it has to be the establishment candidate. She's not just establishment.
Oh, she's uber establishment. But what would have been an interesting race is if the Democratic Party would have been a little bit more open to Bernie Sanders, who is a non-establishment candidate. He's actually an independent. So if he would have gotten, that would have been an amazing race between Bernie and Trump. And I don't think we would have had Trump as a president.
Oh, I don't know, man.
It would have been a way, because you would have had two anti-establishment candidates, whereas there was a lot of people that just really didn't like Hillary. Well, there's a lot of traditional people that will not vote for a woman for presidency, period.
That is,
because they don't think that a woman is fit. Like my grandmother, 94 years old, bless her heart, she will straight tell you, I do not think a woman's place is in the White House running this country.
Right.
And I'm like, Granny, that is your beliefs. You are, God bless you for being an opinionated elder.
Don't call me for a trip to the polls.
Yeah, no, but she there's a lot of people that won't vote for women, and that maybe there's a certain amount of sexism there.
I acknowledge it, and I don't disagree that is a fact.
Yeah,
I don't know if I believe that is why she didn't win. Because AC
there's
on the show,
there's a myriad of reasons why
AC
she
on the
didn't
show,
win.
he likes to make the argument constantly, and I so disagree with it. He's like. Actually, I agree with his base premise, but I disagree with the reality of what he's trying to get to. His base premise is, as far as a resume goes, it didn't get better than Hillary Clinton's resume for president.
No,
with the things she done, with the offices held.
Yeah.
Now, with the things she did while in office, I think if you add that to part of the resume, I think that changes the dynamic a little bit, and I think that's the reality. She was an unlikable person.
Yeah.
Vagina or not, I don't think that mattered in the conversation. She is a highly unlikable person.
Correct.
And she just oozes anti-authenticity. Like, she's not a real person. She's whatever face she puts on today.
She's bought and sold.
Right, and
by the establishment.
Right, and then it's very transparent to people, and I think that fact alone is why she was such a bad candidate.
Yeah.
But I think Trump recognized that that's not the candidate you're going to primary against and win, and I think the Republicans are easier to dupe, so let's go this way.
Yeah.
And fuck you, Obama, for making fun of me. And I'm pretty sure there's at least rumor of, I don't know if it's fact or not, but I'm pretty sure there was rumor of, like, the Clintons being like, yeah, dude, run for president, that'd be great.
Who knows? I mean... Yeah, I don't think that Trump thought he was going to win, and I don't think that I didn't think he was going to win. Like, I mean, I kind of looked at that election as, like, these are our choices. Like, we get to choose from a brain aneurysm and a freaking heart attack. Like, great, give me the heart attack. I don't know, like, what,
right.
Who, like, literally, it makes you not want to vote because you're like, well, it's the same coin, just two different sides.
And to me, and I think this is one of the things that I will this is a hill I will die on, is I think our lack of engagement is as much due to poor choices as our lack of understanding the job. And our lack of understanding the job is what lets a president have the influence they have. Yeah. Because the president isn't supposed to do a lot of shit. Not like what we expect. Like, when we vote for president, I want this, I want that, I want a president to do this. It's like, that's not the job title.
Yeah.
You know, we have a legislative branch. The legislative branch, they're the ones that make the laws.
Yeah.
The president is a backstop if the legislative branch uses their shit.
They used to. Nowadays, the Supreme Court makes a lot of the laws. It goes, they just say, oh, we can't legislate anymore, and it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and then it's like, well, what? I mean, but that's nowadays. Like, I mean, the Congress doesn't get shit done.
No, they certainly don't pass the stock ban.
I mean,
a fun one.
They don't.
Hold on, time out one second. It's like, I don't know, like, so they don't pass the stock ban, which is I think, hilarious, because they killed it before, like, Pelosi and them, like, what they call it poison pilled it. They put in a bunch of shit that they knew different groups wouldn't pass, so they knew, like, it was, like, there was one there, they were expanding it to cover both the White House and the Supreme Court, which they knew, especially the Republicans, weren't going to do anything that was going to affect the Supreme Court, because most of the Supreme Court's their people now, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But then they also, like, put loopholes in and stuff like that they knew any of the Democrats who actually really wanted something out of this would say no to. And so, like, the lady, I can't remember who it was, who was kind of the spearhead of this thing, was pissed. Like, she actually, like, she's a Democrat from Ohio, I think? Spanberger? Anyway, like, she was like, Democratic leadership torpedoed this bill, and the reason this isn't passing is because of Democratic leadership. Which is a ballsy thing to do if you're a Democrat, especially in what they call a frontline district, which is one of those swing districts. It's a very easy one that sometimes goes Republican and sometimes not or whatever. But I think, too, is, like, you know, again, like, I think our general lack of civics understanding and how the states work within the federal system and how the counties work within the state system and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't think people, I don't understand it very well, and I've been trying to figure it out for 2 years now. But, like, I don't think people understand where, like, the authority lies on a lot of these things and where it should lie constitutionally and how much that's come off of what the Constitution was written as. Because it's the 10th Amendment or whatever is the one that's like, you know, if we don't say so specifically in the Constitution, then the states deal with it. Which is the argument for abortion, which then the other argument for abortion is the civil right. But at least half the argument is, you know, okay, you know, we can argue it as a civil right, it's bodily autonomy or whatever, or we can argue it as it's not in the Constitution, so it's not the federal government's job, period. Well, if it's not the federal government's job, then it's the state's job to make those laws. And that's where we go. And so it's like, well, you know, we have so many things that we just look to the federal government to be the fix. They're the solution. They're the biggest bill collector. And honestly, if they're going to take the most money, they should do the most fucking work. But they suck at it. And I think they suck at it because they're so far away, and they don't have to because nobody knows what the fuck they're supposed to be doing, nor how much money they take and where they spend it all. And I think that's our biggest. I think that's our biggest problem. I think we get to the point where it's like, oh, we got a Trump or a Biden, or we got a Clinton or a Trump. Well, fuck, suck and suck.
Yep.
You know, I'll happily throw my vote away on Gary Johnson or Joe Jorgensen because I fancy myself more towards the Libertarian Party. I'm not a Libertarian, but I fancy myself at least more philosophically that direction. Because I don't believe the federal government specifically has the capabilities of taking care of the things that we think they should be taking care of, let alone the desire to, if they did.
No way, no how.
Because again, the stock ban's a perfect example. Like that is clearly like it polls at like 70+% across America. Do you think it's reasonable that we should ban members of Congress or the Senate from trading stocks and their families specifically on items that they have knowledge of that we don't?
For sure.
And everybody's like, no, of course they shouldn't be able to trade stock on knowledge that they only get because there's a sitting member of the defense subcommittee or whatever. No, they shouldn't be trading stock on those things. That like as a consensus across the nation, most people don't think a full 100% abortion ban is the appropriate way to do this. As a consensus across the nation, but are they going to do anything about it? No, because they're far enough away where it's arguably that it's not their problem. But they'll run on it. They'll say, "Vote for me, and I'll take care of this thing for you."
Because it gets people fired up.
Well, but because they know people don't understand why things aren't happening.
Yeah.
They know that they can be like, oh, well, the Republicans did this thing, and that's what kept it from happening. It's like, no, you didn't put forth the fucking effort to make it happen. Especially right now, they could have written off the filibuster and taken that thing out, and the Democrats can be doing anything they want. All the shit that they run on for years, the real student loan forgiveness, not this $10,000 little pat on the back, the debacle, and abortion rights and gay rights being codified instead of Supreme Court things or whatever. They could do that all day.
Yeah, well,
they just choose not to.
Well, what really gets me is like the Democrats. There's so much diversity in the party that they're so divided, and they can't agree on anything. And the Republicans are so just lock-sync on this like total fucking just burn it all down agenda. Like the Republicans, we bought a house, right? And the Republicans are in there. Total agreement. Let's burn this motherfucker down. And the Democrats are in there like, what color should we paint these walls? Does anybody smell smoke? Oh, I don't know. And it's like, it's scary because like I wish that, there was more unity in the Progressive Party. But the thing of it is like the right is just like the fucking, well, the MAGA wing has taken hold of it, to a certain degree. And those are the people that are like, fuck it. Those are like your hardcore anti-establishment people. Those are like the people that are like, we want change and we want it now because this is what's up. And those are typically also your gun owners as well.
Sure.
A lot of those are like your military people nowadays. Back when my grandfather was in the service, most of the military guys were all Democrats. They were strong Democrats. Now you talk to a lot of law enforcement and military folks, and they're strong Republican. It's like within that short time span, a few decades, there's certain things that have really flip-flopped here.
Well, I think part of that is because I think a chunk of that at least is the erosion of the Second Amendment over time. I think that was one of those. Well, these other democratic policies I can get on board with. Like, I mean, fuck, how many police departments don't have a union?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
all of them have fucking unions, and they're going to say they're Republicans at the same time? Come on now.
Yeah.
You don't believe in Republicanism. You're a Democrat,
right? But
you want your guns, and it boils down to you for that one issue.
Right.
That's it. God and guns.
And people will vote on a singular issue, just such as that.
It's because you don't have a choice, though. Like, it's already built out on the major ones, on the top ones. It's already built into the game. Is that where are you on abortion, left or right? Yep. Where are you on guns, left or right? After that, there's not stuff that's like probably more realistically day-to-day shit that's important. It's too late because I might like the Democrats for a policy here and a policy there, but they have he's now the mayor of Notre Dame. What city's Notre Dame in?
South Bend.
Yeah, the mayor of South Bend. Beto. Is that Beto? Buttigieg on the campaign trail when he was running for president says, I will come to your house and take your guns.
No, that was Beto.
Oh, was that Beto? Sorry.
Well,
whatever.
Even Biden's had just pretty strong stance on guns over time. And I mean, you could put together any sort of montage with him that could spin him as, anti-guns. And technically he isn't that anti-guns. I mean, he's anti that quote unquote assault rifle category or assault weapons, which is basically they're looking at any semi-automatic. They're like, oh, well, you have
it's
assault.
Black. The gun's black. The gun's all black.
You have an assault pistol.
It's a murder gun.
Yeah, it's like no, it's really.
Your gun has wood. You have a nice wood buttstock on yours. That's just for hunting. But again, I mean, but I think that's the problem is that some of the essentials, some of the things that are supposed to be the basics that aren't supposed to be up for debate
Yeah.
are part of the process. And so it's like, well, this one's not up for debate for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not okay with anybody who says they're going to come to my house and take my guns.
No.
There's no fucking way I'm voting for anybody who says that. Now, whether I believe they have the ability to pull it off, if they got the job or not, it's not important at this point.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you're going to cross a line that I am not willing to let you cross. And so I'm done with you. You know, now again, I'm dumb enough that I'll vote for Joe Jorgensen instead, but you know, there's enough people in there that say there's only A or B.
Yeah.
And if there's only A or B, and A says guns are bad, then I'm a B, no matter what.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if B is fucking psychotic and crazy and white nationalist or whatever other shit that goes on within the Republican Party, even though I don't buy all that fucking racist shit as much as it's sold to be reality. I don't doubt that it exists.
Yeah.
But like Charlottesville. Like, this is what's crazy to me. Like, the Charlottesville thing that Biden says, I'm running for president because of Charlottesville. Was that 2012? 16?
Oh, that was like his kind of catalyzing moment that he was like, this is my lightning rod.
Right. It was 2012, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, again, I'm not saying it was a good thing to have happened. It's a bunch of fucking morons being stupid. Great.
Oh, absolutely.
But that doesn't paint, that group of morons does not paint the entire picture of the right. But that's the picture that Biden wants to paint of the right, and that's why he runs for president, because those people cannot take power, and anybody that is seeking power on the right is okay with those people. That's the sales pitch that's at play. Reality, it's not true at all, but that is the game that we play and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, we can't talk about, you know, the Libs of TikTok account, which is hilarious if you ever checked it out. You've seen it all. All they do is they go and play around on TikTok and find accounts of crazy lib people and put it up. It's funny as shit. So, like, I think it was in Michigan. There's this guy in Michigan who he's transitioning to female, and he got his boobs done, and it is ridiculous. Like, they are ridiculous, like quadruple F or something ridiculous, giant boobs on this dude.
Holy smokes!
And he's like a middle-aged shop teacher at a school, you know. And so, like, there's all this argument right now about whether there's like this grooming shit going on in schools, which is the same thing with this, you know. Drag your kids to nature thing that we were talking about earlier. There's all this talk about the grooming thing, and like we're being told, no, that's not real. That's not real.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy on his own TikTok account with his big fake boobs is now transitioned to female, which fine, whatever. I'm not saying he should or shouldn't be able to do that.
And
thing.
he's a teacher?
But he's a teacher, and then he's bragging on his TikTok account about how he's trying to turn kids gay.
Wow.
And it's like, well, you can't tell me this doesn't exist. It's real. It's right here. Now, is it as prevalent as other things that are going on? Probably not. But when you run for president because of a handful of retarded white people in South Carolina or North Carolina? Charlottesville, Virginia. Somewhere over there. Who's the retard? Me. You know, but you're going to run your whole presidency off this idea that those people, that small group of people represents everything. But I'm not allowed to say, well, you're telling me that there's nothing going on in the schools, but here's one. And this is not just one. This is one of many that is findable, especially through this Libs of TikTok account. That's all they do is they go find them and they just reshare them. And people that like to laugh at how crazy these fucking people are go to this person account and do it. And so it's like, but I'm not allowed to classify all of you as that. But you run for president on this, and all of this is that. And so it's like we can't talk anymore. Like, we can't discuss anything anymore because it's all of you are the worst of you. If you align yourself anywhere that direction, you are the worst of that side. Which to me, the problem is that we have sides in the first place. But even if we stay within the structure of we have a left and a right, that the moderate Republicans and the moderate Democrats that should be the ones that could be able to actually do some good for the communities and stuff like that and negotiate and compromise and get things done don't have an option. Because if you are agreeing with somebody that's across the aisle from you, you are now the Charlottesville team.
Right.
Or if you're agreeing with somebody that's across the aisle from you, you're now the trained shop teacher with the size triple F tits. And there is no in between. And then the system at large, to me, and with the primaries and stuff, just pushes it further out. And we're fucked the normal people are fucked.
Oh, yeah, the middle class, normal people, the working class. Like, there's been so many jobs lost and, like, cost of everything going up since the pandemic. Like, it's just hard to stay afloat.
Well, no, because we're talking about this instead of the 40-something fucking $1 billion sent to Ukraine for no good for me and you. That $40 billion could have spent anywhere else in this country on many things that actually fucking matter. The stock ban is something that actually fucking matters.
Yeah.
An anti-corruption bill going through Congress and passing is something that actually matters to me and you. It's like, oh, I want to run for Congress. Is it because I want to make a bunch of money because I know things and I can trade stock on it because everybody's done it for generations before me and it's an easy formula to get rich?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're taking that thing out. Well, I don't know if I want to run for Congress anymore. Well, if that was your reason for running for Congress in the first place, good. I'm glad you're not running for Congress now because you're a greedy fuck and you don't need to be there.
Right. It's not meant for someone to feather their nest as much as they do nowadays. You're right.
And yeah, yeah, right.
I mean, no. You're
I'm not
absolutely
used
right.
to that.
I mean,
everybody always tells me I'm an idiot on the show.
but you can look, like you're saying, there's specific transactions that you can look at. Like, for instance, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi currently, you can actually look up her stock market.
It's her husband's, but yeah,
you can actually look.
And he's
up
a criminal.
Their stock market purchases, like their stocks held, and it's just like. A lot of it is like large cap stocks. Like they've got a bunch of Disney. They've got a bunch of like pharmaceutical companies whenever these viruses, start ramping up and like vaccines and stuff. It's very pertinent to the current events that she kind of has her finger on the pulse of.
Now, Disney's the one that bothers me too, though. Like and this is pre-Pelosi. We can't lay this on. Oh, no, she's that fucking old. She might have been there for it.
Yeah.
Disney getting the changing the copyright rules around is kind of fucked. Like Mickey Mouse should be public domain by like 20 years at this point.
Right.
I think it's like 50 years. Like when you copyright, I think it's like 50 years. That's why they keep redoing shit and they do a live action version of it. Like a lot of Disney, like when we get in these phases where they're redoing Disney movies, it's so that they can continue to hold the copyright on the storyline. Now,
I think you can just reapply for that copyright.
No, there's a certain amount of time where it goes to public domain. Period. Music, literature, all of it.
But doesn't
I think even music, I think you can still buy the rights to it and retain those rights.
I would have to check. I'd have to check on it. But I know there's a story from like the 80s where Disney lobbied real hard because they were about to lose Mickey. Because there's a process somewhere in there, and they didn't want to do the process, maybe to retain the rights or to retain exclusivity to it, or maybe you continue to use it. Well, obviously you can continue to use it, but other people can.
Or maybe you got to pay a percentage of that worth of it. It's kind of like, well, when you initially bought the rights to it, it was a no-name thing, but now this thing is a multi-trillion-dollar figure essentially.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember the whole. I need to go back and reread all that stuff because it's been a while, but. Mickey should be public domain at this point. Like I should be able to draw Mickey Mouse and put it as part of our logo. Do the Mickey ears and call that part of our logo. And Disney can't do shit about it. But if I did that, they would come down on me with a fucking hammer. Like I saw a podcast. I was watching a podcast with God, what's his name? The dude that does I can't say it because he'll sue me. He's the ring announcer. He has the catchphrase. He's copyrighted that catchphrase. Like he was talking about how they have a $10,000 finder's fee. Like if you're just putzing around on the internet and you see somebody use the phrase, and he's like, go to our website and you can report it. And if it is somebody that has not bought the license to it, we will go through the lawsuit process and sue them for using my catchphrase.
Wow!
And you get a $10,000 finder's fee for telling me about it. Which again, I'll acknowledge the value in that. It's kind of weird in private property rights to me, but
that is a little weird.
But I'll acknowledge the existence of it because, to be fair to him, that there is a uniqueness to him in the way he says it and the whole combination. Like I think you could say the phrase,
yeah.
But if you say it with kind of the gravitas, the way he does it, that's when it becomes an infringement issue. Because you say the phrase either in context or in kind of the feel, everybody knows what you're referencing. And if you're using that for profit, then he has rights to defend his property. And I agree with that in premise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Using a cheek, it's weird because we got this new place opening, and it's like I've had problems when running operations in the past where we have, you have live performance. So you have a band play, right?
Right.
And I had what other? ASCAP and the other one. It's a music rights company. What they do, I don't know this for a fact, but my assumption is what they do is they have people that are either like contractors for them or something like that like when you apply for a beer or liquor license, it's public record.
Right.
And so I think that they have people that pull that public record on a regular basis And if they see a beer or liquor license come up, they assume that place is a bar that's going to have a band at some point. And they go send a rep out and be like, hey, it's $80 a month. If you don't pay us and that band plays a song that's on our catalog, we will sue you. And that's literally the pitch. That's their sales pitch. Which, I mean, sounds a little bit like blackmail. Like, and I argued with the guy last time he came in when I was managing a bar. You know, I was like, run that by me again. He's like, you got a jukebox over there? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you get paid from that jukebox? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you pay for the rights to play the songs? I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, you better figure that out or I'll sue you. I was like, okay. And I went through and I talked to the guy that actually owned the jukebox. He's like, yeah, because it's one of those like touch tunes, whatever digital jukeboxes. It's like it's like Apple Music that the customer can pay for.
Right.
And so they get their cut off of that or whatever. He's like, you ever do bands or anything here? I was like, yeah. He's like, do they play cover songs? I was like, I don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? I was like, I don't know. I don't pay attention. All I give a shit if a band is here if there's people here.
Yeah. And
when a band is here and there's people here, I'm paying attention to the people because they're the people that are paying my fucking bills. He's like, yeah, those people that pay my bills too. If a band that you're performing plays a cover song and it's one of the catalog that we own, we'll sue you. And it's like, why is that my responsibility? He's like, well, you're the one making money. I was like, so is the fucking band. Are you suing them? He's like, no. It's like, why not?
They're the one playing the song.
I was like, so you're telling me that if I contract a band to come work here, and I say you're only allowed to play originals or public domain music, or I'm not paying you. And they say, no problem, sign the paperwork, come in and play the show, and I write them a check, and I find out later that they played a cover of some song that's in your catalog, that you're going to sue me? He's like, yeah. It's not their responsibility. It's like, the fuck it's not.
Yeah.
How is that my responsibility to track what that band does? It's like, because you're the one making more money. It's like, so are they. They're making money. It's like, but you make more. It's like, oh, I make more because you can win more money in the lawsuit. He wouldn't answer that question. But they know exactly what they're doing, and I hate them. I get it, but I hate them. Like, it's a weird line. Like, I get it. I do get that one as a musician-ish person myself. Like, I understand that there's a fine line with that one, but I don't agree that it's my responsibility as the bar owner.
Yeah, it's the burden doesn't necessarily fall on you. I mean, it's because how many bands...
Right. If you guys represent AC/DC's catalog, and I hire an AC/DC cover band, you should already have a contract with them any fucking way because that's all they do is your company's music.
Yeah.
But if I hire them and they say that they're not doing that or whatever, okay, fine. I get that. It's clear that this is not a band that is performing their own things. People aren't coming in to see them. They're coming in to hear the music of the band they like that these guys happen to perform.
Right.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
And I guess I could just argue that they're just samples. They're just doing samples.
They're doing samples.
It's just a weird ism to me. Like I get both sides of it. That's one of those weird. Like it drives me nuts because I can't justify it. I can justify it either way, and I can't justify it either way. Like if I were like Third Eye Blind or something like that, and somebody kept playing, was that Semi-Charmed Kind of Life or whatever? Is that one of theirs?
Yeah, I think so.
Like some band was like had that in their repertoire, and I mean, really, like you're Third Eye Blind, you have like 5 songs that anybody knows,
pretty much.
You know, and I don't know if he's dead yet or not, but you know, you deserve to have some kickback for the thing you put out in the world. It's a great song.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, I don't understand why that lies on me as the manager or the bar owner's responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it should. I mean, but obviously it's a business trying to conduct business, make it a profit. So it makes sense that somebody would eventually have that angle on it.
Yeah.
But I still don't see how that would fall. The burden would fall upon you. You know, because those bands, it's such an informal contract sometimes.
Right. It's like $100. Your buddies.
$100,
free bar tab.
Yeah.
Make noise for a while.
Yeah. Be gone by this time. Cool.
Right. Wonder who owned Jimi Hendrix. What if Jimi Hendrix is Jimi Hendrix public domain yet?
I don't know.
Because I think it's supposed to go into public domain after a period of. I don't know. I'll have to do some research on it. We'll come back to this in a future episode or something. Because it's. I believe in the U.S. system originally it was designed that eventually all art falls to public domain.
I think you're right about that.
Because there's always talk when people talk about that. They talk about the birthday song. But then the fact that somebody still owns the rights to the birthday song.
And maybe it's like 50 years after the death of the artist or something like that. Like it might be a longer time frame because I mean Disney died in like 56, mid 50s, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Maybe early 60s. So the 50th anniversary of his 50th anniversary was this year because we were down there in Disney for the park's 50th anniversary was this year. The Florida park, at least. So I don't know, like where are you living now? Don't give me your address, but like, are you on this side of town, South Knox, North Knox? Where are you living now?
I'm actually living out of state currently.
Oh yeah, you're on a boat.
Yeah, I work on a boat, and I live in southeast Missouri. I'm about 2 hours south of St. Louis and about 2 hours north of Memphis, right on the Mississippi there. But yeah, it's a good home base. It's affordable cost of living. You know, I've got family in the area, and I'm working for a major river transportation company. They do towboats. We've got about 70 towboats on the inland river systems. We run the Mississippi top to bottom, Tennessee top to bottom, Ohio top to bottom, Illinois top to bottom, Arkansas, Tom Bigby, a little bit of Missouri.
So one of my bucket lists is I want to get in a boat downtown Knoxville, and I want to go to New Orleans.
There you go.
That's just one of the, like, I just want to do it. Like, I just want to get a house, like, not a houseboat, but like a boat with some sort of sleeper cabin in it. And just, you know, just go down, go through the locks, do the whole thing.
Just cruise, yeah.
Hang out, stop here, stop there, do whatever. Stop in Memphis and hang out in Memphis. Like, stop in Nashville. Like, see the sights. Like, it'd be like a couple month long tour.
Hell yeah. That'd be a solid float for sure. And then you could just party down in New Orleans.
Yeah. And then, you know, fly home and somebody else has to figure out what to do with the boat when it gets down there.
Sell it when you get down there. Like,
I'm not coming back upstream. That sounds like a lot more work.
Like, see you later.
Where do you cross the plateau?
Well, the Tennessee goes down to the almost Georgia border down Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And then comes back up to Nashville.
And then
goes into it goes into Mississippi for a second, or Alabama for a second.
It goes into Alabama, but it links in with the Cumberland there at some point.
Yeah.
So the Cumberland ties in, and the Tennessee actually has locks. They have a few locks that kind of connect it, and
we have like four more like fairly close to here. I mean, you got Douglas, and well, I guess Douglas is, I don't remember.
Dam. Usually
Lenore City, there's one.
Yeah, this is all like Army Corps of Engineers stuff. So there's like a lock and dam. Like they'll just like take the whole river and kind of just mitigate the flow with a dam, and then you'll have a locks. A lot of the old school locks are like valves. They just turn a valve, and it either flushes the water in or out, and it raises or lowers the boat accordingly. You know, just a basic. But a lot of them were built like back in like the 30s and 40s, so they've got some age on them.
Yeah.
So they're starting to like do more construction, the Army Corps of Engineer on some of them. But you were mentioning there's a lock at Racine, Wisconsin. I've been through that lock a few times.
Yeah, well, you get the Chicago River goes backwards certain times today. It's weird. Like Chicago River, like there's with its whole system, because you could technically get from Lake Michigan to the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Through the Chicago River and then wherever it goes from there.
Yeah.
But that's all engineered stuff. That's not natural stuff.
Yeah, no. And the Mississippi has changed course. Not so much course, but it's changed shape and path a few times. Like,
wasn't there like there's an island? Is it Missouri?
Yeah,
that's part of. Well, it was an island in the Mississippi, and then the course changed, and it's now connected to Illinois, but it's still technically part of Missouri.
Yeah,
but it's on the other side of the river.
It's actually pretty interesting because the Mississippi top to bottom is 2,200 miles.
Yeah,
so you're talking, I mean, and then the Ohio goes all the way up to Pittsburgh. And you're talking 1,000 miles there.
So has there been have you seen over the last like year or so like an increased volume of stuff?
Not particularly.
I mean, I'm assuming it's bulk shit that it's not in a hurry.
Yeah,
that's got to be the only logical cargo that you guys are pushing and pulling around.
Yeah, my company is mostly commodities, agricultural based. We do a lot of like soy, corn, wheat. There's a lot of coal that sometimes we'll push. We don't really push fuel barges. We'll even push, like, if somebody has a bunch of like windmill turbine blades or something that they have ready to go somewhere downriver, they'll actually contract us and we'll load them on a barge and just kind of set them up, and then we'll just, tack them into the tow and just take them wherever they need to go. We're basically like, it's crazy the amount of cargo that we push versus 18-wheelers.
Right.
Because it's just like there's so much tonnage that we're able to push.
Buoyancy is neat. Like it really is. Like the amount, it's crazy when you look at it. When you look at a fucking like aircraft carrier, I think it's an easier thing to like rationalize. Like aircraft carrier. It's like it's a real city, and it's out there floating. Yeah. Just floats. It's
a very extreme example for sure, but yeah, aircraft carriers, man.
They just float. I mean, they just do. They just float. I don't know. I don't quite understand why. They just do. And you can put, planes and tanks and helicopters and all sorts of shit on top, and they just keep floating.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep putting more shit on top, and they'll keep floating. Doesn't matter.
That's pretty, all the nuclear capabilities and shit. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. I got to go on a sub when my brother was in the Navy. He got to show me around what the subs he worked on. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I lose my fucking mind on a sub.
A sub, like any sort of like confined space phobia, you'd be effed.
Yeah, I'm done. Nope.
You'd be done.
I will get sweaty palms just telling this story.
Yeah.
A couple years ago for Scouts, we said as an award, I think it was for selling popcorn or whatever. As an award for selling popcorn, we were one of the top sellers. We got to go do secret caverns. What it's called? Down in like
Forbidden Caverns.
Forbidden Caverns. Yeah, it's Forbidden Caverns. We got to do an overnight there.
Okay.
And it's really cool. Really cool setup. Like if you've ever been, there's a couple of different big rooms, but one of the big rooms that apparently was like a speakeasy, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
And they used to like it was dance hall and all sorts of shit. And the guy was telling this story. Kids don't get it obviously, but there's like they used to have like big parties down here, and they'd have bands playing, and it'd be it was a big enough room that they'd like leveled out the floor. They had a dance floor on it, all that kind of shit. And you get down there and you get pretty sauced, and then you walk out of the cave, and because of the temperature, moisture, and air pressure difference, as soon as you hit actual East Tennessee air, your level of drunkenness would jump like 10%.
Nice.
And so people would like stumble up the stairs a little bit drunk, get to the top, and just be hammered and rolling down the fucking mountainside.
Hell yeah.
I don't quite understand the science of it or whatever, but we were doing this thing, and so it was really cool. We had there was probably like 30 of us, like 10 or 15 kids and adults, parents who were with them and stuff. And then we had a couple of different guys that were the guides. And so we got to go around. We got to see some different spots that you would see on the normal tour. We got to get on the boats and do the boat thing and see the crazy blind fish.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take us up into some of these side caverns that you don't ever get to get into. And we got to do some, what's it called, crawling, whatever.
Spelunking.
Yeah, and so it's like there's this little channel through here, and you can crawl through here. So all the kids are lining up, and they don't give a shit. They're like, the biggest one's like 89 pounds or something like that, and they're just through these things. And so some of us adults are like, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. So I do the first set, I do all three of them. I'm like, okay, that was kind of fun. And then we get to the second set, and the first one, my oldest, who was like maybe 9 at the time, he's way ahead of me. All the kids are flying through there doing whatever. But I hear him yell from like 5 or 6 people ahead of me, my butt's stuck. And I was the last one in line, and I just started entering this little crevice or whatever. I was like, if his butt's stuck, there's no fucking way I'm getting close to that. And so I backed out, and then I was done.
Smart.
There was like 3 or 4 more that we did, and everybody's like, yeah, this is cool. And I was like, I'm done. And so like if I start thinking about the idea of crawling through one of these things, like I have like real anxiety about being underground, and like it's like the idea of getting stuck in one of these things. No, thank you.
Yeah, no thanks.
No. Like I think about the first 3 that I did that weren't that hard, and go, shouldn't have done that either. That was stupid. Like, what am I thinking? I'm a big fat ass trying to crawl through these little crevices and shit.
Well, you reach a certain age where that kind of stuff just isn't feasible. It's like, yeah, nah.
I just like, I like, it's just one of those, like, talking about like phobias and claustrophobics and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew, like I think just not seeing the sky for a period of time on a sub would be an issue for me.
Yeah.
Like, and plus, like, I'm 6'2". My brother was 6'2".
Right.
Like, for, like, like when the sub program started and stuff like that, people were shorter. Like, they don't, like the bunks on a sub or a aircraft carrier, for that matter, are 6 feet.
Yeah.
But they're in a box. It's not like your bed where you can hang your feet off the end. It's in a box, and it's in a rack of, like, 2 or 3 bunks and stuff like that. So you can't literally fit in the bunk. And since my brother wasn't assigned to a sub, they put his rack on a torpedo rack.
Oh, shit.
And so, like, it should have been, they took a torpedo off the boat and put him in its place. So he's sitting there sleeping on top of a fucking probably nuclear warhead torpedo.
Nice.
Or whatever, on the sub or whatever. But, like, at least he's like, I loved it because, I was like, if I get in a regular rack, I got to, like, sleep with my legs bent.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of shit. Every doorway having to duck and stuff like that, I would lose my shit real fast.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty tough on submarines just because, like, you're confined and everything's just, like, smaller quarters. But
well, like you were talking about the technology nowadays, the sub could stay forever.
Yeah.
It's food and sanity is the only reason they come back to the surface.
Provisions.
Yeah.
And, because I think that they, like, try to limit how much they keep those submariners out because of, like, their mental space.
Yeah. But, like, well, one of the interesting things my brother told me, though, is, like, one of the weird things about being on a sub is you got to get on a little boat. They won't let, like, if you're not in a U.S. port, they won't let subs in port. So, like, if they're in Japan or something like that, like, Japanese won't let a U.S. sub in port. And so the sub stays out. And they'll get on a little boat and get on, like, a destroyer that's in part of the whatever. Oh. Because they're not, like, the sub isn't, and maybe it's a U.S. policy, maybe it's not the Japanese thing.
Yeah.
But the subs go into nobody else's ports. And so if you're assigned to a sub and that battle group or whatever is in the Philippines and they're going for shore leave, you have to get onto one of the other boats in the, like, they take you to a different boat and then that boat actually goes into port.
Gotcha.
And so even when they're in port, at least a portion of the sub team does not get off the sub because somebody has to be on there.
Roger. Yeah, it could be just secrecy, or it could be that maybe their infrastructure doesn't facilitate sub coming into port.
Right. As I was saying, I was thinking, I'm not sure which side is, like, whether it's a U.S. thing or whether it's the other people's port.
Because your sub wouldn't have your traditional moorings that other boats would have. So you wouldn't just be able to moor it standard like you would your other vessels.
Yeah.
It would require probably special moorings or fittings, or I don't even know. I've never even seen one of those things docked.
Yeah, I got on one docked. I didn't think about it. Like I wasn't looking for that part.
Or if it just kind of like shoves in to like the dock and it never really ties off. Maybe that's like a thing to where it just. But
yeah. It was definitely stable on the dock that I got on.
Yeah.
But we also went in through a rocket hatch. We didn't go through the regular entrance.
Oh, interesting.
You would think they almost have like a cradle underneath it or something.
Yeah,
but when they're going into port, generally for a lot of like large ships and like cruise ships, you've got towboat or like tugs that come in there.
Yeah.
They are able to push you. Yeah, right. But that tug's not going to push the
because
the sub
majority of the holes
to try to turn it.
It gets weird. Yeah, I don't know. I just said.
Probably a few different reasons.
Yeah, they're actually pretty cool. A lot of that stuff is pretty interesting. The company that I work for has an offshore division, and they do stuff like in the inland Gulf, and then even they go down to like South America and stuff. And then like whenever we sell off boats, we'll sell it out of country, usually to like South America and stuff like that. But any like blue water vessels like that, there usually is like a tug service that will kind of help manipulate the boat in smaller harbors, just because they are so unwieldy. I mean, just
right. Again, buoyancy is neat. Like you think about a fucking container ship or a super tanker, they're fucking huge.
And the thing of it is those things don't necessarily have brakes. You're like if you're a deckhand or anything of that nature on one of those vessels, you're really relying on lines. Your line handling, anchors.
I saw a video of I think it was a container ship or something like that, where the spool for the anchor broke.
Yeah,
and they were letting it out, and like whatever the gearing is, it's supposed to slow down the release of it, like broke. And so like it's this big, I don't know, probably 12-foot diameter wheel that there's hundreds of tons of chain hooked up to, and it's just like it was crazy. It was crazy.
There's only like the anchor's like dropping, and that whole spool starts getting literally like white hot as it's unspooling and just dropping.
Well, I learned that. I mean, I'm sure Brandon knows this, but like I didn't realize how anchors actually work. Yeah. It's not like you're tying yourself to the bottom of the ocean. It's the weight of the line that's actually what's stopping you. It's not the anchor itself.
Right.
Like I didn't realize. Like I saw a video. Like I think it was a Mark Rober, one of the YouTube things my kids watch that I actually like.
Yeah.
He's a super smart dude. And he's like, let me explain to you how anchors work. It's like it's not about the anchor. It's about the weight of the line. And so the point when you drop anchor is like it's like you have a percentage of the total line drop is supposed to be flat on the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's actually what's holding you in place, not the anchor on the end. Because the amount of energy it's going to take to pick that line up off the bottom is whatever. And so it's more than the weight of the boat and blah, blah, blah. There's math.
Yeah. It's actually pretty cool. Some of the engineering and stuff that goes into like, the maritime industry is pretty awesome because you've got all your systems that you have to manage and your engines, hydraulics and whatnot. It's like to be a chief engineer in one of those vessels, it's like you really just kind of have to be able to deal with everything almost. But a lot of it, the stuff like that goes wrong. They go back into port. They get port mechanics, and they put you in a shipyard.
Well, to me, I mean, the thing about boats, for lack of a better word, I apologize if that's rude to the lingo, but it's been around.
Yeah.
Like the 18-wheelers you joke about, or even the fucking train.
Right.
They're newbies in this game. I mean, we talk about like we were watching I think it was on Nat Geo or whatever. There was like I think it was the Dead Sea. Mm-hmm. They were like this crew was going out with their deep water robot, whatever, searching for vessels on the bottom of the Dead Sea. Maybe it was the Red Sea. I don't remember. But I mean, they're finding like just eras and eras of boats on the bottom of this fucking sea because one, it's been a highly populated area for millennia, but like generations of boats, with like real complicated, real complicated, oaring systems as well as like their masts and their sail structures and all this different stuff. And like, these guys that know what the fuck they're talking about are like, oh, well, that's a Spanish blah, 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 circa 14, whatever, because of the way that the mast is attached to the sail, the mainsail. That's how I know what that is. Or like the particular like railing that they're using, that's a Greek ship from this era and stuff like that. It's really cool.
That is pretty cool.
But like, but talking about like maritime engineering, like it is probably, at least in the mass transit and or international markets game, doesn't get any older than that.
Yeah. Like if you're a young individual these days and you live kind of like in a more rural community and there's not a whole lot of opportunity for advancement or job paths in your local community, I would highly recommend checking out one of these companies and just getting in and maybe just start out on deck and see if you like it. Because if you get out there young and you're like got your health to you, like good knees, good back, good work ethic, willing to work, by the time you're 25 or 30, you could be a captain or a pilot or an engineer and basically go anywhere. Like, you don't need any college degrees.
So like, going on to back to the phobias thing, I could do. I think I get like I'm getting older and I'd probably wear myself out trying to do it. But I think I could do the rivers and stuff. Yeah. Open ocean, no thank you.
Yeah, blue water's a little different.
No thank you. Like the idea of not seeing any land.
Yeah. It's actually
I'm weird. That's like I'm scared to be around too much land if I'm down deep in it and I'm going to get crushed and starve to death or whatever the fuck it is when I get stuck in a hole in the ground. Yeah. But I'm also scared to not be close to it. Like I got to have the right balance of land in my life. Mm-hmm. The sky above, the land below, and I'm good.
Yeah, a lot of people have fear of heights. Is a phobia that you run into a lot.
Apparently, I got that one too.
Fear of heights.
That's a boating issue.
Yeah, in certain circumstances, because you're on the exterior of the boat at times and you're climbing ladders, and then you're going from deck to deck. Sometimes you're on top of the wheelhouse cleaning or painting, clearing stuff off the radars, fixing the radars, helping the chief fix radars. stuff like that. But then like the empties, like an empty barge is, a lot of people don't realize it, but it's anywhere from like 11 to 14 feet out of the water.
Right.
So
Right, when it's full, it's like 3.
Exactly.
4 feet, right.
Yeah, it's drafting a lot lower. It may be like 9-10 foot draft into the water, so there may only be like 2 or 3 feet sticking out of the water. Depends on cargo and whatnot. But a lot of people, and we do a lot with ladders, so a lot of people kind of get a little weirded out with the heights. But
Do you remember when you went to London? It was in your junior year.
I didn't know. I actually didn't go on
that
that band trip. Yeah,
I remember that was when I started to realize I might have a fear of heights.
yeah.
Because we crawled our happy asses up to the top of St. Paul's.
I didn't go to that.
I went up to I did. I went up. We did a St. Paul. We went and checked out St. Paul's Cathedral, which was awesome.
Hell yeah.
And then we crawled up the gajillion stairs to get to the tip top.
Yeah.
And we get on this little balcony thing, and I was like, this is pretty high up.
Like,
I walked to the outside of it and saw there was a long ass line to get in, and I was like, "Okay, that's cool. I saw it from the outside. That's neat. I'm not gonna waste 2 hours."
I remember getting to the top and being afraid. That's my takeaway from my 2 or 3 hours that I spent through that whole process.
Roger.
I remember it's one of those that you're staring up and your neck hurts because you keep looking up at the ceiling and all the different cool architecture. It was cool, but I remember that's like I might actually have a heights issue. Which I do. It depends on the situation. Like I think that's one that's specific. Like if I'm outside, it's a problem. If I'm inside, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like if it's enclosed, like Sears Tower, I've been at the top of Sears Tower, not that big a deal. Which was the tallest at the time when I was up there. It was the tallest building in the United States.
I think it's called something else now.
Yeah, I don't know. Because Sears doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, Sears.
But yeah, I've been at the top of a handful of buildings or whatever things, but like outside is where it gets a little dicey.
So
we did the Ferris wheel at the fucking thing at the mall last year. I was like, this is getting up there. It's also a traveling fair, which gets a little sketchy in and of itself.
Yeah.
How long did it take you guys to put this thing together?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. You put it together? I sure did. Okay.
Me and Clam and Fernandez and
They got like 4 teeth between them.
no, it's a bunch. I think it was a bunch of Hondurans or Venezuelans or
Roger. There's
like all the it seemed to me like most of the support staff was Hispanic, and about 50-50 of like the ticket ride operators was real redneck or Hispanic. Like that was the general makeup of the one down here. I didn't go to the circus. They had the circus there last week. So, all right, Sam. I think it's time for our.
I don't have a Florida
in
story.
case you missed it.
Don't have a Florida story.
Damn it.
Guess Florida man's being all right this week.
Well, Ian came through and kind of fucked some shit up.
That's
I saw a
true.
good picture of like a 2x4 went through a fucking palm tree trunk.
Oh, shit.
oh man.
Yeah, this is why you don't go outside in a Cat 4 hurricane. Yes, I
There's a
agree.
couple stories about sharks that made it to like little inland waterways during the storm
I
surge.
heard something. There was like some whale, like there was a small whale or a couple of dolphins or something like on Main Street in some small town that wasn't on the ocean but near.
Right.
Oh, it's like I was talking to Scott and Jesse about that when we were doing their shows. Like I don't remember, and like I was like, I'm sure it's happened a gajillion times. I don't remember ever watching a hurricane have 2 landfalls. Because this one went and it was up in the Gulf and it went and hit Florida, crossed Florida, went back out to the Atlantic, and then came back into South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm sure it's not uncommon per se that like one comes in like hits Miami, goes across Florida, and then goes up and hits like a New Orleans or whatever. Like it makes total sense. I just like never thought about it.
Or even like Fiona going up into Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of rare there.
Yeah, and like you had a couple of years ago. What was the one that hit like the New York metro area or whatever?
Sandy.
There's Sandy.
Yeah, that's rare in and of itself. But like that one didn't hit in Florida or whatever. Like it,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll close on this conversation because I think it's an interesting one. I saw a headline on it. I didn't read the article, but it's like so if you're in wherever Florida, Costa Mesa or whatever, like the actual impact point was, that, I mean, like, destroyed. Houses flattened.
Yeah.
Walmart's destroyed. Under tons of water, everything's destroyed. They're going to have to tear the building down if it didn't already fall down in the process. Like, this isn't an uncommon thing per se. Like, it's a 5-year thing, it's a 10-year thing, but you're either getting a direct hit or a near direct hit every couple of years. You're getting some major hurricane damage pretty regularly. Like, what are we doing? Like, in the greater conversation of, like, civilization thing. Like, does it make sense to keep rebuilding it? Like, Pompeii got buried. They didn't build a new Pompeii on top of it. Like, what are we doing? And again, it's not a slight. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's just like, I thought it was an interesting thought process. Like, especially when you get into like that coastal real estate that's like super expensive.
Oh.
Right? You got these multi-million-dollar houses. You're going to rebuild a fucking multi-million-dollar house on the beach that's going to get hit in a hurricane by the time you finish building it?
There's really no resources to do that for everyone. Maybe, sure, a few houses here and there will get rebuilt, the few fortunate ones. But
no, I agree. On the greater current construction market thing, I get what you're saying. But I'm, like, take that part out of it. Like, let's assume that we didn't have this other market issue at play.
Right.
Just that, like, it was just a normal year, nothing particularly special. We didn't have crazy supply chain issues like we're dealing with now. It's just like, you own this house and you're going to get an insurance payout for $450,000. Like,
yeah,
are you really going to rebuild that house? Why aren't you taking that $450 and moving to Tennessee? No, thank you. Please don't. I'm not suggesting that at all. We don't need more people here, but like, it's a weird process. Like, because like Miami's the example of examples. You got this like beachfront, that like literally is technically underwater
a ton of
all
real
the time.
Estate.
That's like multi-million-dollar, like 5 square feet.
Yeah,
and like they're building, like, it's like, what are we doing?
I mean, they're chasing that pie in the sky idea because you think a lot of people move down there, not necessarily to Miami, but Florida in general for retirement. Snowbirds to get away from the cold.
Yep. Lawyer Jamie moved down there just a couple months ago. He's alive, in case any of our listeners care.
And they're chasing this pie in the sky idea for whatever reason because they've worked that hard their whole life to be able to afford that. And good for them. That's great. More power to them. But at a certain point, you have to be realistic about, what you're moving into, where you're moving. Is this a possibility? Yes, it's a possibility.
I mean, I would say I'm certainly paying for the extra for the flood insurance. Does the hurricane count as flood? I don't know.
I mean,
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reading my insurance thing like a lot more carefully there. Like, that's one thing. Like, that's the thing I love about Knoxville. We have none of that shit.
Sure.
Well, I don't think the Mississippi River's had it for a while, but there was a lot of talk of that. And the past 15, 20 years when there's been major flooding from Mississippi and all those areas that are adjacent to it, most of those places don't offer a flood insurance because I think you're considered, if you're within so many miles of the river, you're part of a flood plain, quote unquote.
Right, it will flood.
Yeah,
periodically. We know that.
A lot of places you don't get flood insurance. I don't think there is a hurricane insurance.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I just think that's
you can buy home insurance, but some of those gets into the quote unquote act of God, basically.
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
We didn't know bad weather was going to happen. Oh.
Well, it depends who's claiming act of God. I get really mad when KUB does. That bothers me. Bothers me a lot when KUB blames God.
That's funny.
But I don't know. I think it's a weirdism. I mean, at some point, we need houses anywhere, so it doesn't matter where. Like, at this point, the U.S. housing shortage grows worse. Which I still don't quite understand the whole macroeconomics of that conversation, but I don't know. I just don't I don't quite gather. Like, at some point, I guess to me, at some point, I could agree with an insurance company on you can build a house here if it burns down, if something weird happens, we'll fix it or we'll pay whatever, blah blah blah. But if a hurricane comes through and destroys your house, no.
Right? You're living in Florida, right? Okay.
Yeah, you're living in coastal Florida.
Yeah.
Where
hurricane season happens every year. You know this, right?
On the reg.
Yeah.
So no insurance for you.
Average at least 5 major hurricanes every year.
Or you pay extra for insurance, and the insurance company takes the gamble of, maybe we'll collect enough to pay it off when it comes and whatever. That's I get that. Insurance is a weird scam in and of itself to me. Like, I get it.
100%.
Health insurance, forget health insurance. Health insurance is a full-on fucking scam. But general stuff insurance, house, car, kind of shit like that. Like I can
Property.
I can get behind the premise of insurance, accident insurance for the person that you have an accident with. I get the reason for the obligation to that. Like, I understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole scam, like it's like, I mean, like, so I've had 0 claims since we bought this house, and we have a car and homeowners, like, combined policy. I've had 0 claims on either one, and I pay like $100 ish a month. Like, I pay quarterly or something like that. So I don't, like, I pay biannually, so I pay twice a year, and I pay like $750, $800 a month, or a year, twice a year. So $1,600, a little over $100 a month. And it's like, what am I paying for again?
Just in case.
Just in case.
It's peace of mind. You're paying for peace of mind.
Right, and I'm double stuck because I have a loan for the house, and then I have a loan for one of the cars. Which both of those make sense because that's not that insurance isn't for me. Those insurances are for the bank.
Roger.
You know, like, I mean, realistically, it's not for me. It's not about making my life whole.
Yeah.
It's about make sure the bank gets their money back if something happens.
Right.
Which, again, I mean, you know, so why am I paying to protect your property? Like, why am I paying to protect your investment? Why'd you give me the loan if you didn't think I could pay it? Well, because if you don't pay it, we'll take your shit and we'll sell it and we'll get our money back.
Yeah, somehow.
And if you burn it down, then we're going to take the insurance money and whatever. Either one works. So it's protecting the banks. It's, I guess, those types of insurance to me are protecting the banks more than they're protecting the individual.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there is benefit to the individual, but it's minuscule compared to the property, you know, the profit.
Right, you pay your house off. Like, if you own it outright, it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But when you're paying it off, because, like, you have to, like, you know, like, I have to have full coverage on the car because I still have payments on it.
Right.
So I was wondering, I didn't know if they made you do that with homeowners insurance as well. If you're still paying a mortgage, you've got to get extra.
As part of the mortgage, I have to have insurance on the house. If I call my insurance guy right now, I'm like, hey man, I just don't want to pay for insurance anymore. I'll take the gamble.
Yeah.
The bank's going to say, okay, well, you need to pay off the balance of your loan now.
Right.
So the second that insurance goes, the second there's no insurance in the house, you owe us the balance of the house. Which, if I was in the financial position, it might be a fun little experiment to play, but not playing that game with what I got.
Let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Hey, bank, you want to play chicken?
Yeah. I've got this great idea. Let me know what you think.
I'm just going to stop paying you guys.
They're going to be like, yeah, no, you're crazy.
Yeah. They will do exactly that. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing in the local calendar. Elections are coming up pretty quick. The reason I asked where you're living was because I was going to ask you who you're voting for, but I don't give a shit about Missouri politics. So.
Yeah, Roger. No, I'm over in Southeast Missouri. It is by and by where I live is where Rush Limbaugh is from. And so basically Rush Limbaugh is kind of like a conservative icon in that area. So it's very red where I live. It's actually similar to Tennessee all in all, but not quite as red as Tennessee. And like the southern states, I think Tennessee is like more conservative than most of the states on most issues. But Missouri as a whole is a little bit less conservative than Tennessee. So voting, like the politics are very similar is what I'm kind of driving at here. It's very, very similar from where I live to Tennessee.
Right. Locally, it's whoever the Republican candidate is probably going to win.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Like I really think the roadway decision is going to have some impact in some places. I don't think it's going to be here. I think Gloria's winning 90, hands down. I think Zachary will keep a seat. I think Lafferty will keep a seat. I think Elaine Davis sadly is going to take 18, which that's a lose-lose for me, and I'm an 18 voter. I don't dislike Kaplan as a human being. I don't know Elaine Davis as a human being to say whether I like her as a human being or not. Yeah. But at least her public politics are not where I want to be. But neither are his, and so I'm stuck with a suck and suck decision for that one. I think McKenzie is going to keep his seat. Carringer is already guaranteed to keep her seat. I think Langen has a chance to actually put a little bit of pressure onto Biggs, Senator Briggs, but I don't think he's going to take District 7. So I don't think we're changing much here either. But again, I think the Roe Wade thing, I think that's a fucking wild card. Like,
Yeah,
I think there are enough people, and especially like in a District 18, I think there are enough affluent white females who think abortion is important, who aren't going to like Elaine Davis. And so we'll see if that has an actual impact on the voting numbers. Because I think I think that's the voting block for the abortion conversation is not full rural, because the full rural is anti-abortion, but the suburban white female voting block, that's a big one for abortion rights. And I think it's going to have an impact.
Well, abortion is it's one of the only issues that is largely agreed upon in our country. It's like 76% of all Americans.
I agree with you, except I disagree with you, and I think there's more than it's more than one. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot more real core issues that if you actually got a true populist conversation about it, I think some level of abortion would be agreed upon. I think certainly, like in Tennessee right now, it is fully illegal. But it doesn't matter if it's rape, incest, life of the mother; it's still illegal.
They just took such a hard line to it, but it's there's a large percentage of Americans that agree that some form of abortion, like you're saying, is acceptable, where it's not as black and white as they're making it out to be.
The majority of Americans believe that we're not sure where the line is, but it's more than 0 and less than 9 months. That's the reality. I think the majority of Americans, and it's really somewhere in that 10 to 20 week range, and that's the real fight. When you get down to most people, the outliers are going to be outside of that, saying 9 months plus 2 days, and then the other ones are the second you decide to have sex, even if you haven't shot your load yet. Those are the two outliers, but for the majority of Americans, 70+%, like you were saying, is somewhere in that 10 to 20 week range.
Yeah, one thing I thought of that I saw a story about it with it being, I guess, a state abortion law. You still have VA clinics that still are able to go by federal law, so they're still able to kind of get around that state law.
Right, but you have to be VA eligible.
Right. It was one little caveat that I never really had thought about in the kind of
I'd like to see that
state versus federal, to where I guess they had some people that were trying to make that known that at the VA you're still able to have these procedures performed within medical necessity.
I didn't know the VA performed abortions, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, it seems like
I wouldn't have thought they would.
I mean, there's some that are just full-fledged hospitals.
Right. Well, so the question would be: so if you have a VA that
I don't know if you can necessarily go in just to get an abortion, but I mean there are cases that would be considered an abortion, like an ectopic pregnancy or something like that.
If the VA contracts out work, which they do a lot, like if they have local practices that do certain procedures or certain examinations or whatever on their behalf, that's a weird spot. I'm interested in that. That might be fun to look into.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a weird spot for the military like that, because it's like that's basically taxpayer funded.
Yeah, 100%. Should be better funded, but whatever.
Which, I mean, brings upon a larger issue that people aren't necessarily aware of. Like, yeah, you may be anti-abortion, but you're technically paying for abortions.
Well, that's why Planned Parenthood is the worst thing ever. Because that's usually a federally funded organization.
It's like whether or not you approve or disapprove, you're kind of forced to pay. I think there should be more accountability as to where our tax dollars actually go.
I agree. Not Ukraine.
Not Ukraine.
Made that point clear.
even in local, taxation and whatnot. Like, I think they should be able to tell you exactly where every penny is going.
I mean, I think that again goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think there is no general public understanding of how this machine works.
Yeah. If people knew as much about their civics as they did about their favorite sports teams, we would be in a whole different situation.
That's a great Noam Chomsky, I think, is the one that made the point. It's like he's talking about how it's not that we're not capable as a populace of highly complicated, intricate understanding of a detailed, complex system.
Yeah.
Because you can go into a sports bar on a Sunday and sit next to a guy who's going to explain to you how Cover 2 works.
Right.
And he can't tell you anything about how the government works. But again, I get it because it's engaging. I understand the mindset because that was me, and that still kind of is me a little bit. We don't record on Sundays because I'm watching football.
Right.
But I think but I don't know. There's the three branches of the federal government, and then there's the three subsets of overall government that we live under. And most people don't understand even the beginnings of that mindset. We have state, federal, local.
Right.
We have, and all three of them in some way, shape, or form. But to me, it's like the way it's designed to work is that the state's the king, and the state's the one that runs the show.
Right.
And that's not how we're doing it.
States rule.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's only things that matter to cross state lines that should cross the line. That's where I think it gets really fucked up. Is like I think, I like the idea, and like Max keeps making this point in the show. It's like if you like the ideology of a California government, just go. They can't tell you can't come in.
Yeah.
Now, whether you can afford it or not, that's problematic, and that's part of their government issues that makes it so expensive to live there. But there's other states and there's other places you can go, and it's hard to do. I'm not saying it's easy to just get up and move, but if that is something that is life-changingly important to you,
do it.
You can go. And that's not to say that you can't stay and try to advocate for your direction, but at some point you got to read the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And say this particular issue in this state is not a changing issue, and it's time for me to make the decision on whether I'm so diametrically opposed to this issue that I need to leave the state. And it's something you need to think of. Like I think it's something that people don't think about. It's like, well, I'm here, and that's period. Everything needs to conform to what I want here, where I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see a lot of people move into lower tax states from high tax states, i.e., California.
Right, because Tennessee is very simple.
Tennessee,
you don't get shit, and what shit you do get is not very good, but you don't pay for it. Where when you're in New York, you pay for a lot, and you don't get very good shit either. So, which one do you want?
Yeah, Tennessee is a higher sales tax. Didn't they actually write it into their constitution a few years back that they would never have an income tax? They would always have a sales tax. Am I just
same as our state constitution expert?
I don't know.
I'm not sure that that's true or not. That is written in the Constitution as a never. I'd believe it. I believe you saying it that it's true, but
I thought that they had amended their Constitution to put something of that effect in there.
It certainly sounds like something we would have done, especially in the last decade or so, with the current very strong Republican state House and Senate that we've had.
I don't recall reading that in the state constitution as it sits.
I don't.
We may have. There could be some kind of trigger bill or something.
But I think it's because I think it's an interesting game. Like you're, I mean, it's a small business. It's a large business, but it's a business game. Like like we provide X services, and we can provide them really really well, but we got to make people pay for them. We can do a shitty job of it, but you don't pay for it. And so you, the customer, make the decision. And it's very clear to me that a lot of Americans would rather get nothing and not pay for it than get very little and pay a ton for it.
Yeah.
And so the question is there a place that truly exists where you get a ton, but you got to pay for it in the United States? Like I understand that like in Sweden and some of those other places, that's how it works. But that's not how it works in any state here. There is no state in the union that I can think of off the top of my head where it has a high tax rate, property sales, income, whatever combination of those things. And I think that's the one probably more likely is the state of Tennessee probably had. If they had anything, it would be an income tax.
Okay.
That would never impose an income tax to the state because Tennessee doesn't have an income tax.
Right.
That would be more likely to be the one that they did if they did that. But
I thought that's what he was saying.
Did you say income? I thought you said property. Oh, sorry. Anyway,
income tax, yeah. Because property hits you whenever you purchase it through sales tax.
And every day and all the time.
Yeah.
Like
so you vote
your property tax. You pay property tax on your vehicle every time you get your license renewed. You pay property tax on your house, but that's usually a local tax. There is no state property tax for your home in Tennessee, but there is a state vehicle tax, which is basically your property tax. Like you don't get to keep your car if you don't pay this tax, or you're driving without a plate and then they take your car.
Yeah. See, that whole thing kind of just like it grinds my gears a little bit because Missouri does a lot of that too. Like everything, you sales tax, you purchase a vehicle, a motorcycle, a trailer, anything like that, it goes on your personal property tax, and you pay basic, property tax based on the valuation of that.
What I find interesting about Tennessee is that as an individual you don't, but as a business you do. And it's a weird small. It's not a very big number. I don't know what it is. Like we got assessed on one of our businesses, like $5,000 in property, and it was like a $27 tax assessment.
That's crazy.
That we had to pay. It's not a very big number, but it's like, but I mean, hell, like in that particular location, other than inventory, I don't think we have $5,000 worth of shit in that store.
Yeah.
Like we have a couple of chairs, a love seat, a cooler, and a computer. But the county, the city has assessed that. The city of Knoxville has assessed that at about $5,400, something like that. And our tax value is $25, $27, something like that. It's a weird small number.
Yeah.
It's not worth pitching a fit about, but it is kind of a weird thing to exist. It's like every year I pay $27. It's like, well, that cooler barely, like it worked. It was brand new, and now it's not brand new. It's not worth the same amount. And you do get some depreciation value in the process. It's weird, but like businesses have a different level of taxing when it comes to property tax.
Different structures and whatnot.
It's weird, but but again, my point being is like that's what's interesting to me, and that's where my politics leans. I think most people, if they actually think about it, they would rather get nothing and pay nothing than pay a lot and get a little.
Yeah, it's
and we don't have a sample of pay a lot and get a lot in the United States.
We don't. It's just, I mean, the model is very hard to make work. That I don't know that there's anybody, maybe aside from, like you said, some of like the Nordic countries that can pull it off nowadays. But
I think it's a volume thing too, though. I think you can pull it off. Like I think the state of Tennessee, they could pull something off. Like I think they could pull something off like a Nordic country. If the state of Tennessee wanted to do something like that, I don't think the United States could do something like that.
Yeah, but
I think with the free enterprise of the way the United States works is that, well, it's like, well, if Tennessee was doing something where they had like a high, like, if you're earning $200,000 a year, 90 to 100,000 of that gets taxed through different processes, but you have healthcare, you have this, you have that, you have this. That's guaranteed as a resident of the state. Well, in the United States, the problem with that is going to be, well, everybody moves to Tennessee, whether they're contributing to the system or not, because it gives so much, and there's, by law, you can't stop people from migrating to your state, where, Norway can. They can be like, no, Finland, no Germans, no Poland, you can't come. We got to close this thing off because our system can't function with the free flow of people.
Well, okay, you said it right there. There's the countries that have done it are more homogenized. Their citizens have more similarities, whether it's
straight up white dudes with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Exactly. I mean,
Vikings.
But now there's a lot of immigration to those countries, and their systems are really strained because of it. But
see, I don't know. Like, I'm curious to know. Like, I get what you're saying. What I find curious about that is I don't know how much it is. I mean, I think there is some depth in culture that in the way a culture interacts with governments.
Yeah,
that changes when you have an immigration in there. But to me, it's probably more likely that it is a numbers game than it is a ethnicity or background culture game.
For sure.
Is that it's not so much that a bunch of Muslims are moving in and they're trying to change the way we're moving our country and we're hateful and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's that this is a numbers game. We need to have and our culture has grown up building this system up.
Yeah.
And when you add numbers to the system that aren't contributing the way that we built the system, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and you have to assimilate them to said system.
Right.
It doesn't. Yeah, you can input.
And when you have a cultural and a language barrier, it's harder to do.
Right. It's assimilation doesn't necessarily happen. Therefore, they don't necessarily subscribe to the constructs of whatever country they're going into. But something like that, we're too diverse in the United States. You wouldn't be able to accomplish anything like that on that scale. Maybe in pockets of the United States where you had like samples of like, okay, this is a Hmong Chinese community in Minnesota, or like, okay, this is an Irish community in Tennessee or Missouri. You may be able to have like certain success stories, but I don't think it would necessarily work.
Right. I agree, because I think the open borders policy that is inside the United States makes it harder.
You would find a few niches here and there that might jive with it.
But I think that's one of the things that we have the opportunity to do that we're missing. Like, I think the idea of going uber local, because like I would be down with like a fully like fucking socialist city of Knoxville. Whatever, if that's what the city of Knoxville wants to do, and they want to tax it that way, and they want to operate that way, cool.
Yeah.
If I don't want to be a part of that, I'm not living in the city of Knoxville. But if I do, and it makes sense to me, and the tax structure and all that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, cool, I want to be a part of that. But to say that I don't want that, and I can't move to Anderson County and be out in the country and have some land and have privacy and all that kind of shit that I want,
right?
That would be where I draw the line. Is that I can't leave it, I can't get out of it. I'm stuck in it, and it's a bigger deal. You know, it's not easy to move to California from Tennessee,
right?
But it's a whole lot bigger deal to move to Canada or Mexico. Well, I'm probably not Mexico.
Yeah,
I probably don't care that much. But you know, if I'm like, you know what, U.S., you suck. Like everybody that's like, well, if Trump wins the presidency, I'm getting the fuck out of here. None of them did.
Yeah.
And most of them that said it could probably afford the process of moving to Canada and becoming naturalized in Canada and shit like that. But they don't. But that to me, I think is the broader thing that I think we need to embrace the uniqueness of states. And then let localities be even more unique outside of their own states. Like I would love the idea, you know, because I mean, it's kind of how we are in Tennessee anyway. Memphis and Nashville are super left.
Yeah.
Chattanooga and Nashville are center. Well, Chattanooga's probably a little bit more left as a totality. Knoxville is a little bit more right as a totality in the Big Five.
Yeah. And
then Bristol is probably a little bit further left. But they're closer to center.
Knoxville even seems like pretty left leaning as far
as
city
of Knoxville is
city, yeah.
Like the whole county. I mean, to me, like that's the thing that to me, like I early in the show I got on a whole like Metro kick. Like I really wanted to go to Metro Knoxville, and I still kind of do, because realistically at this point with the growth that we've seen in the last couple of years, Knoxville and Knox County are not two different things anymore. They're just not. There's a few spots here and there, and there's shit that I like about being a county resident because I'm not a city resident, that I prefer as a county resident. And it doesn't mean that if we went Metro that they would switch that way. It could switch county way or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, just I have a hard time, like they're like Halls or Carnes or Hardin Valley or Bearden. They're not neighborhoods. I mean, they're neighborhoods in the greater city of Knoxville. They're not separate, you know, like Farragut is actually technically a separate municipality.
Correct. Yeah.
But outside of that, there is no, like, Northeast Knox County is like what Northeast Knox County is the only rural left in Knox County, realistically. And that's it.
Yeah.
But everything else, I mean, I don't know. It's time to just be Knoxville. So, all right. So, no Florida Man story. No, in case you missed it. There was that actress lady that got Bell's palsy. Did you hear that story? She didn't say it, but she strongly implied that she got it from the vaccine. But she said she'd get the vaccine again because that's what we have to do.
Seems a little contradictory there.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
We had a couple stars die recently.
Loretta Lynn died today.
Yeah,
that was a bummer.
Yeah.
Yesterday for everybody listening, but
Coolio died.
Yeah, last week. Yeah, that was like that one. Like Loretta Lynn makes sense. She's like 90.
Yeah,
Coolio was like what 50, 55?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that was a bummer. Gangsta's Paradise is a classic. If Weird Al did it, you're a classic.
You made it.
I read something about Weird Al like doing like spoofing himself, basically.
Ooh, I'll check that out. That's a good in case you missed it right there. We'll have to look that up.
I talked about him. Yeah, the fact that he's been around this long. Yeah. Just like making parodies.
He just did a movie, and it was who was it? Frodo. Who played Frodo? Frodo plays
Elijah.
It's either Frodo or Harry Potter. It's either Elijah Wood or the kid that played Harry Potter that plays Weird Al. I think it's Harry Potter. It's not Elijah Wood. Plays Weird Al.
Daniel
Radcliffe.
Radcliffe, I think.
Yeah, he plays Weird Al in this movie, and it actually looks kind of fun. All right, well, that's the show, people.
Yeah,
Roger that. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, brother.
So it took me like the entire show to catch the fact that he's now from Missouri. So good friend Brandon from all the way from Missouri. He floated all the way up the Tennessee River to get here. We were glad to have him. It's good to talk to him. It's neat stuff, boats and barges and stuff. We're Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Give us a like, share, friend, follow, tell your peeps about it. Go to your favorite podcast provider, get us there. Subscribe to us there and share that as well. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I'm trying to get Ashley Capps lined up just to chat with him because he's a cool dude. But we're going to keep trying to get some more candidates in. I did hear that Briggs and Langen are having an actual debate, so I might make myself available to go watch that and tell you guys about it. Check out the Compass Points podcast, the other thing that I produce for way smarter people that do way better news than we do. They're on all your major podcast providers as well. So give us a like, share, friend, follow, tell your friends about us, do all that kind of thing. Thanks for listening, everybody. Good night.